Hello, hello. My Twitch working, my YouTube working. So Sunday night I updated my OBS and everything broke. I think I fixed it all. I should be streaming to both Twitch now and to YouTube. I see. Hey, can you guys not hear me? Male mutedness? What am I looking at? What's going on? Hold on. Can you guys not hear me? Hello? Hello? Is this working? Present night. Good to see you lived past that late night. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we had a special Sunday kind of surprise stream. Kind of threw me for a loop actually. We went on a CuteBot, did a bit of a what's it called? Debate battle royale thing. I won, of course. Was that ever even in question? It wasn't. I mean, candy from a baby, gang. Candy from a baby. But it was fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was look, it wasn't there for like super serious debates. It was there for a little shit posting, and we brought the shit post energy. It was fun. It was enjoyable, and I hope you guys also enjoyed it. Silverhand, nice to see you. I'm checking out things now. Coffee Margin. Welcome. Van All In. What are you looking at there? I'm looking at you guys. Okay. Hi, Metalworks. Hello. Oh, in my Discord chat? Yeah. Sometimes it pops up what I'm looking at on my other screen when I switch screens. So I try to be careful about what I display. Okay. It's always important. Always important to watch out and be careful. But today we are going to be doing a call-in show. We have some stuff to discuss. Trump has announced that he is going to bring in the National Guard to D.C. or activate the National Guard in Washington, D.C. to combat crime. So we're going to read about that a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about his replacing the jobs numbers guru, right? I believe it was a lady who would report on job numbers each month. The job numbers were not good. Trump fired her and replaced her. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to discuss Trump's Trump admins taking a look at the Smithsonian Museum's exhibits and kind of purity testing them a bit. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And we're also going to talk about a case that the Supreme Court has been asked to hear that is intended to overturn Obergefell and to recriminalize or at least get rid of the law that allows same-sex marriages. Lots to go over, lots to cover. But we're also, as we go, going to be doing call-ins, and it should be fun. I'm pretty zoomed in. This thing not working? What's going on? Okay. Which story do you guys want to start with first? I want to talk about Trump declaring federal control of D.C. And I see you back there. I see you backstage, callers. We'll get to you. We'll get in. But first, I want to go over this story. I want to talk a little bit about it. And then we'll get to you, and we will start kind of getting things done and getting the content flowing. Sound good, gang? Sounds good. I hope it does. I really do. Let's look at what we have today. Oh, let's adjust the screen here. A little bit overly large. One moment, please. There we go. Let's see if it fits the text as we go. And we'll read it. So Trump is declaring federal control of D.C. police and is deploying the National Guard. Here's how he's able to do it. So this is a legal thing that he can do, at least for now. It is within his purview. It is within the bounds of his power. The concerns, of course, come with why he is doing it and how he will wield that power. And this is something that I think that you need to understand to really understand the problems that I and others have with the Trump administration, is that power, even if it is given in a just manner, so even if they actually have the power to do a thing, even if it's legal and it's above board, you can use power given to you in that way in a corrupt, inappropriate manner. And this is the concern. My concern isn't that he's doing anything, quote unquote, illegal with nationalizing or at least taking control of the DC police force and activating the National Guard. That's not my concern, really. It's not the legality of it that gives me pause. It is, what will he do with this legitimately given power? Will he use this legitimately given power in illegitimate ways? And again, Trump's entire second term has been a case of him having, in many cases, a legitimate power to do a thing, but using that legitimate power for illegitimate purposes and in illegitimate ways. But let's read the story and let's talk about it, and let's get your thoughts as well. I'm curious what the audience thinks. I always am, right? So let's talk about it a little bit. Here, I'll make it a little bigger so you guys can read along with me. There we go. President Donald Trump said Monday he is placing Washington, D.C.'s police department under direct federal control and deploying National Guard troops to the nation's capital, citing a public safety emergency after an assault on a former government worker. So here's the deal. For those of you who don't know, the former government worker in question was a man who goes by the name of, and I shit you not, Big Balls. Okay, he's one of those guys that was hired by Elon Musk and Doge to do what Doge did, right, back in the beginning of the administration. He came under fire because he made some inappropriate comments about Indians and things like that. But yeah, his moniker was Big Balls. Apparently, he was assaulted, I believe, last week and beaten up in a carjacking in Washington, D.C. So that's the inciting incident here, okay? And this went viral in the news and was posted as, look, the crime in D.C. is out of control. Everything's getting worse in D.C. We need to stop in and stop this now. And to be clear, yeah, the guys who beat this guy up need to be arrested. I'm a big believer in following the law and law enforcement. I think that's a good thing. But let's be clear, crime in Washington, D.C. is actually down from last year. Like, it's actually down. Does that mean it's a super safe city? No. But the question becomes, is this a necessary step? Did Donald Trump, in order to combat this, need to nationalize DC's police force and deploy the National Guard? I doubt it. But let's read and let's get the rest of what you guys need to, what the rest of what you guys think here, okay? The move draws on the sweeping but temporary powers granted under the Home Rule Act of 1973, a law that balances local self-governance with federal oversight in the Capitol. While the president can assume control of the police department for up to 2 days, extending this authority would require congressional notice or a change to the law. So there's a built-in time limit to this power, okay, gang? According to this article, it's 2 days. Fair enough. And that's for the police control. He's also going to deploy the National Guard. So Trump's announcement comes after the assault of a 19-year-old former Department of Government Efficiency worker during an attempted carjacking on August 3rd. While Trump has repeatedly criticized what he describes as a surge in violent crime in Washington, overall crime numbers this year are lower than last year. Washington, D.C. will be liberated today, Trump said Monday on his Truth Social. The declaration also came as administration lawyers were in a courtroom Monday for the first day of trial over the legality of Trump's deployment of the National Guard in California in June, and amid protests over immigration raids in Los Angeles. So here's the thing. This isn't the first time Trump's deployed the National Guard to a city. And it's not and I think he even deployed Marines to Los Angeles as well. And this is being litigated in court, whether he had the power to do so. But again, even if he does, legitimate power, and I can't stress this enough. You guys have to remember this. A legitimate power can be used for illegitimate purposes and in illegitimate ways. And this is, I think, a trademark of what Trump does. Keep reading. Here's what to know about Trump's authority in Washington, D.C. and the implications of this unprecedented move. So, again, it just goes through the legality here. We've already read this. The Home Rule Act of 1973 grants him this authority. Okay? He can take control of the police department for up to 48 hours if he determines special conditions of an emergency nature exist, requiring the department's use for federal purposes. Now, this is a very kind of vague phrase. Okay? And it's vague on purpose, to be clear. The law is kind of vague on purpose because it wants to kind of give a broad power to the executive here, to the federal government. And you can not like the law, and that's fine, but that's why the law exists, so that the federal government, in what it deems to be an emergency, can go in and, for at least a very limited time, a limited window, enact direct control. This is another thing that Trump does. He plays within the vagaries because there's no emergency in Washington, D.C. right now. And can we all just acknowledge this for a minute here, real quick? I just need to stress this. There is no actual emergency in Washington, D.C. that requires this to happen. Like, no reasonable person would see this, what happened, as an emergency in any way, shape, or form. $2 from Esoteric Dichotomy to say hello, Wick. Hello, Esoteric Dichotomy. Welcome to the show. Thank you for the $2. But does anyone disagree with me on this, by the way? Does anyone disagree that at least currently, there is no emergency in Washington, D.C. that requires the deployment or requires the executive to take control of the police force and to deploy the National Guard? Does anyone disagree with that? This is a call-in show, by the way. So if you want to call in and talk to me about things, you're more than welcome. We got a couple callers in, so let's bring some people in and see what they have to say. Give me 1 second here. Hello, you're live.
Hey, I'm really happy to be here, but I think you should grab Ryan, because I know he's really short on time.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
So I don't mind being patient.
Sure. Okay. I just saw you there in first, so we'll switch you out. Ryan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Wick, how you doing?
We're here. Still alive, not dead, all that. How are you, sir? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'm living the dream and trying to actually set up my recording technology while I'm doing it.
It's okay. Take your time. What do you think of this nationalizing of the executive taking control of the police in Washington, D.C.? What are your thoughts here? We already went over the Home Control Act, I forget, of 1973. He's allowed to do it. I mean, legally he has the power. But what are your thoughts on whether this is actually legitimate use of that power?
So, I mean, first of all, the important bit here, and I think the craziest thing he said was when he started talking about New York and Chicago and other cities. DC is very different than every other city in the country. Like if there was ever a place where it was appropriate for the federal government to take over, it is DC, because that is essentially federal territory. I think the broader question that gets raised in these contexts constantly with Trump, and hopefully people wake up to this because they feel discomfort with this, is that we have a lot of laws that give tremendous authority to the executive in the case of an emergency. And it's not entirely clear who's empowered to second guess the executive when they declare that there's an emergency. Because as you can imagine, like, it's easy to say, oh, Trump's acting in bad faith, right? But
let's do you think he is in this case? Do you see an actual emergency in Washington D.C. right now that requires him to exercise his control?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I mean it's just an obvious answer, right? Like
I think it's obvious, but I also think, like, my read on Trump is that Trump is a legal positivist. I don't think he cares what the purpose or the moral structure of a law is. I think he cares how it operates, right? So the answer is, do I think there's an emergency? No. Do I think that my opinion on whether there's an emergency matters? No.
Not person legally.
No, yeah, but the person who's empowered to make the decision about the emergency is him. And I think that's the question he asks. He doesn't ask, is it really an emergency? He asks, who's in charge of deciding if it's an emergency? The answer is me, so I get to make the call. I think that's the way he looks at it.
No, again, I don't disagree with you from a legal framework, and I don't disagree with you that might be Trump's mindset. But the reason I think that it matters whether or not the reasonable person, the average man, if you will, everyone else besides Trump, basically, can look at this situation and see, hey, there's not actually an emergency here. Because it's something I said at the beginning of the stream, and I'll repeat again, and I'll probably be repeating this throughout the stream today, that you can use a legitimate power for illegitimate purposes and in illegitimate ways. And so while I grant that he has a legitimate authority to do this, I think that it speaks to the illegitimacy of how he is using it to see the fact that there is no actual emergency in Washington, D.C.
I think that what I'm hoping people notice as the common thread in a lot of these Trump actions is that people have become very frustrated with the speed of Congress. And over time, that's resulted in the executive getting more and more powers that are increasingly broad. Because, okay, the Congress can't act, so we need the executive to do it. The problem is, when you give that power out, somebody eventually picks it up. You might like that person, you might not. We're at a moment in time where we have a historically strong presidency with sweeping broad powers that they can do a lot of stuff. It might be time to rein that in and say, this is too much. We think that Congress should take back some of these powers, and we should find other ways to accomplish these goals because we don't trust this much power in one office.
Congress has to actually do that, though, is the problem. And I don't think this Congress will. I think that this Congress will actively kowtow, unfortunately, to the executive.
Well, I don't think any Congress. I mean, I haven't seen a Congress do that in my adult lifetime. I think it would be nice if we had one. So, if the talking point in the next election was we need to rein in the executive, that would be fine with me.
One of the problems, though, is that every side, once they get these powers, do not want to give them up because they think, well, the other side used them. Now we have to do it to fix their mistakes or to correct what was going on or to just shore up power for ourselves so that they don't get it again. There's all these rationalizations and all these reasons. I do agree with you in the foundational principle that the executive branch has become bloated and basically has far more power than I'm comfortable with. Like, should Trump be able to? Washington D.C. is a weird kind of situation, as you say, but should it have the ability to do the things that it's doing through executive orders with executive actions without even going through Congress? In most cases, no. But the problem is that everyone can point to a situation where Congress has failed, right? Where there was an emergency or there was something that was going on. Congress needed to act. Congress failed to act for for a wide variety of reasons, right? And they think, well, we got to do something, right? Someone has to do something to stop this and to fix this problem. But the problem is that, again, when you grant them this authority to, as you say, fix an actual problem, they're going to use this authority in ways that you don't necessarily want them to. And I think that we're seeing this play out. I think if anything, the Trump presidency is kind of just like the pinnacle of this principle that you're talking about of executive overreach, just run amok. Would you agree that Trump is doing it far, far worse than any other administration I've seen in my lifetime?
Ooh, that's a tough call. There's so many good candidates for me complaining about overreach about. I think that Trump has been more flagrant and blatant about it. Like I think it's very clear the games he's playing, and he doesn't even try to hide it. So in that sense, I think so. I I would say though that like the Biden vaccine mandate through OSHA was wild executive overreach. The attempt to like forgive the student loan debt was wild executive overreach. And those concerned me in a different way because like if you go back to like say like the border enforcement stuff or the National Guard in use in California, those might be executive overreaches, but they are at least of the type of thing we want the federal government doing. Border control, that is a federal prerogative. Health decisions, that really seems like in any federal system, that's the state. Like these are things that are further removed from not only is it overreach, but it's the kind of thing that shouldn't be done by the federal government in the first instance anyway. So it's like overreach on overreach. So I certainly had problems with both.
Sure.
But I will completely concede that Trump's, he's kind of twirling his mustache while he's doing it. Like there's like it's very clear what he's doing.
So first of all, I think that you're underselling it a bit. I understand that there has been overreach of federal powers by other administrations. I'd never disagree with you there. But I think that, for example, Trump's use of the executive branch in the government to attack media companies, lawyers, law firms, etc., private citizens, and things like that, it eclipses any kind of example you can give me of other people. Like, we'll look at Obama. The Obama administration, I remember an instance where they kind of went to war with Fox News a little bit, right? Legally, they refused to let them in the press briefing. I forget the details. I could look it up right for you. But there was some kerfuffle with that. There was some threatened lawsuits. The Obama administration gave in. They're like, fuck it, right? We'll let them. Okay, we were overreaching. We were trying to bully you, but yeah, the law's on your side. And so they stepped back, and that crisis, if you will, was averted. Trump's not doing that. And in fact, there's a lot of colleges, there's a lot of media companies, there's a lot of, I think just today, Harvard capitulated to him because he's making it so hard to do business and to do anything that these companies are looking at this and like, damn, we have a multi-billion-dollar merger going through, and the federal government is going to put a wedge in that, a monkey wrench in that, unless we settle these damn lawsuits that Trump's giving us. It's extortion.
Yeah, I think that he definitely, it definitely feels personal with him. Like if it does feel like he's doing it in a very personal way. And then I would concede by also that like, again, I think the Harvard stuff is a great example of when you give a power, someone's going to pick it up eventually. Like if the federal government is giving billions of dollars to Harvard, then the administration has a huge leverage point to make Harvard do what it wants. If you favor a limited federal government and you don't want the federal government making decisions for universities, you probably don't want to give it that lever because the power to fund is the power to control. That's, and that's kind of the way of someone who favors limited government would look at it. I would disagree a little bit about, I do think that there's, like I said, there's an egregiousness, there's a mustache twirling aspect to it. There's a lot that Trump does that I think is wild overreach. But in terms of the scale, I mean, the COVID mandate example I gave was Biden without authorization, without proper authorization, making personal health decisions for like 80 to 100 million Americans with the stroke of his pen through the Oval Office. That's in terms of like the scale of overreach. That's wild. That's a crazy level of overreach.
Okay, I was against the vaccine mandates. For those of you who aren't familiar with my arguments back in the Prime Kai's days, I thought it would bite us in the ass, and it was just, again, not a power we wanted to give to the federal government.
And it
However,
absolutely did bite you in the ass, by the way.
I would absolutely disagree, however, that represents a greater kind of overreach than what's happening now, simply because there was a legitimate argument that there was an actual crisis here with COVID, right? Again, I'm on your side that it was an overreach, but there was a legitimate kind of reasonable man argument that you make that, hey, there are people dying, people are getting sick. We don't know how bad this is going to get. We don't know if we could stop it at the time. So we got to do something. And I think that is a fundamental different thing than what Trump is doing, right? I think that's a fundamentally these are not even on the same level to me. I can understand an action taken by a government in order to protect its citizens that might not be an action I think would be good, but they are making it for the intent to protect the citizens. The intent for Donald Trump and his administration is not to protect America. It's not to protect its citizens. It's to protect themselves and to make themselves richer and more powerful. And that is literally it.
The problem is, emergencies in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think that, like, for example, you look at Trump won. The border was an emergency. That's how he got to build that little section of wall that he built, because he could reallocate a certain amount of funding based on his declaration that it was emergency, right? Then Biden took over. It's no longer an emergency. The numbers got way worse, but it was not an emergency anymore, because what an emergency is what a president declares it to be. That's how the law is written. So, yeah, I think we can talk all day about whether or not we agree with the president's declaration that something is or is not an emergency. But if you have a structure that gives him the authority to decide what is or is not an emergency, it kind of doesn't matter. And I don't know that, like, whether or not we agree with the president is actually the real issue here. The real issue here is that the decision making is vested in him, and that might be the thing that needs to be looked at.
Ryan,
like, if you're concerned about it, that's the problem.
You're lawyer braining this. I get it. I understand legally they have this power, and legally the law or the verbiage in these laws are vague, usually on purpose, right? They're usually vague on purpose that allow flexibility in how these powers are used, because the writers of the laws realize that not every situation is going to be easily compactable into a single kind of really statement like that. But I think that, again, you agree with me that in this instance, for the DC area, there is no actual emergency. And I would extrapolate this to much of what Trump is doing, that there are no actual issues that he legitimately needs to exercise a power in the way he's doing, even if I would grant you that the power he is exercising is legitimately his to do. Does this make sense? Are you following the logic?
I think you went one step further than I would.
Okay.
There is no emergency in DC. I think I would grant you that. I think, like, I don't think you have to go to, and there's no reason that he's doing this at all. I think, like, the way
legitimate reason, I should say.
Well, I mean,
there's a reason. He's obviously doing it for a reason.
He wants there to be less crime in DC. That would be a reason, right?
Do you think that's why he's doing it?
I think it's also great for him politically, so that's another reason. But I mean, I think there's probably more than one reason. But what I'm saying is, how do I explain this to somebody who doesn't work in my field?
It's true. I'm not a lawyer.
Trump reminds me of, I'm obviously not going to name names, but it is not weird in my line of work for someone to come to me and say, I want to do X. And then it's my job to figure out, how can we do X? Right? So, like, it doesn't seem implausible for me to Trump to go, man, I don't like these like roving, gangs on four-wheelers who are terrorizing like nice neighborhoods and making people feel unsafe. What can I do about it? And then he asked some lawyer, well, it turns out in DC you can send in the National Guard. And they say, well, how do I do that? And they write him a memo, and then he says, great, okay, like we'll do that then. I don't know that you have to ascribe a sinister motive to it in order to explain it. I think it makes total sense. I just think, like I said, he's a legal positivist. I don't think he cares that it's not an emergency in the sense that you and I are using the word. I think he just cares, I want to do X. How can I do X? And someone tells him how.
I think it's important when we have these conversations. I don't disagree with anything you said, and I think that he does often asks his lawyers and things like, as you said, I want to do this. Make it so I can do this. How do we actually do this without running afoul of the law, etc.? That's fair. My issue here is that unless we acknowledge, and it's clear to me at least, maybe it's not clear to you, that the reason Trump is doing these things is not to help the American people, but to shore up his own power, to reward his friends and punish his enemies, and he does not actually care who he hurts and what institutions he destroys when he does so. If he could get away with it, I do believe that Trump would simply ignore the law. If he thought he could get away with doing that, and if he wanted a thing, right? If he wanted to do X and he could figure out a way to do X while getting away with it, he would. And I think that trying to remove that part of Trump from the equation when we discuss the things that Trump is doing fundamentally misses what I feel is the danger of a Trump administration and the danger of how he's exercising these laws. What do you disagree with me on this?
This is Trump's superpower, and this is why Democrats are polling in the 20s. Because let's watch how this plays out, right? Does Trump have the power to do this? We both agree, yes.
Yep.
Right? And then your point is, but I ascribe to him this horrible motive because he's a bad guy.
No, all I have to do is point out, like, hey, there's no actually emergency here, and he's saying that there is.
No. He's going to say there's a terrible crime problem in DC, and I want to fix it. And you're going to say, well, I don't think that's a real emergency, and I ascribe to you this terrible motive. And now the battlefield is Democrats want to fight to stop Trump from cleaning up DC. Rather, and Trump's battlefield is, I want to clean up DC crime, and Democrats are trying to stop me. And the reason is it just seems like it's impossible to have a conversation about him where somebody doesn't want to get into his secret heart of hearts and what his motivations are. And I mean, I get it. It's good TV. It's good coverage, but I actually think it helps him. I think it helps him politically. I think that when you're getting into this area where you're saying, like, I'm going to say that I assume he's acting in bad faith because cleaning up crime is an unthinkable thing for him to want to do, I think that's bad optics. And I also think that that's why Democrats poll the way they do, because it makes it look like everything is about him. Everything that the Democrats ever do or say is about him. And I don't think it works. So I in terms of his goals, I think cleaning up crime is one of them.
Well,
I think also it's
the
great
mistake
politically.
that you guys are making, and I don't mean you guys, but like when people say, "Oh, the Democrats are in trouble. Look at the polling numbers of the Democrats." I think that the mistake you're making is you think that people, because the Democrats are polling low, people like Trump. The problem is that a lot of people, including me, are frustrated with the Democratic Party because we think that they're not doing what they need to do in order to successfully combat Trump. And so we are disapproving of the leadership at the DNC. We're disapproving with the various politicians that are Democrats and how they are leading this country, the Chuck Schumers and things like that, and leading our party. But that does not mean that we would suddenly go to the right or help Trump in any way. In fact, the fact that we dislike Trump is why the Democrats are polling so low. Now, again, we'll see. This is my theory, and I acknowledge I'm narrativizing a little bit, but I think that we're going to come into the midterms, and I think we're going to see a sweep by the Democrats, and Democrats are
Oh,
going to perform
I agree with you.
extremely
I agree with you on
well, even though they're polling very low, even though they're like 20%, 30%, something like that down. I think that this is the okay. Look, never underestimate the Democrats' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay, I'll just set that out there right now. Okay, but if things continue to go as they are, even with Democrats' low poll numbers, it's a Democrat sweep in the midterms because, while again, Trump says he wants to do all these things, he's not doing them. Like, he's not accomplishing these things, and it's a problem for him.
And I got to run in a second.
Oh,
Rick,
yeah.
but just as a kind of final thought, I agree with you about what's going to happen in the midterms. But the reason I think it's going to happen is that one of Trump's other political superpowers is that he gets the fringe right to vote. And historically, the fringe left and the fringe right don't vote. So, but when he's on the ballot, they do. And part of the reason that rolling in the mud is so good for the Republicans politically is that when he's on the ballot and you roll in the mud, you lose all the principal voters. They're all disaffected. They go home. All you're left is your base, and his base actually votes. The left's base doesn't. But in the midterms, at least if last time was an example, his superpower doesn't work. He has to actually be on the ticket for them to show up. So in the midterms, I think they get swept. And my hope this is maybe me being an optimist, but knock on wood, I don't think anybody else inherits that superpower. I think when he's gone and we're back to politics, not as usual, but post-Trump, the fringe right is going to stop voting again. And if they stop voting again, then all of a sudden people can court the center. But right now, when they're voting, this kind of roll around in the mud, rally the base tactic is just too effective for the right.
I guess we'll see. Thanks for calling in. I know you got to go, and I appreciate you giving your thoughts on this. Have a great day, man.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Okay, before we bring in the next caller, let's read some of these super chats. Metalworks for $10 says, turns out that in May of this year, the DC police commander was suspended for being accused of manipulating crime data, so crime might not have went down in 2024. $10 from Psychonaut to say, if Ryan is Republican, this is a disingenuous argument. It was a Republican Supreme Court that gave the presidency even more power with immunity. So to be here and say that Republicans are shining a light on this is crazy. So to respond to Metalworks, I'll have to look into that. I'll check it out. I have not heard of that, but let's give it a look-see, right? And then $10 from Psychonaut to respond to that. Ryan, as I understand it, is not Republican. He didn't vote in the last election, I don't believe. He's not a Trump voter. So I don't think that lens works. Now, I think he gives far too much charity to Trump, right? But I don't think he's Republican. I could be wrong. I think he's an independent. Bad guess. Let's bring in the next caller. Hello, you're live. Hi.
Hey, sorry, I had to pause the video real quick.
It's okay. What you got, man?
So I was the guy who messaged you on Twitter that wanted to talk about online news of the week.
Okay, what do you got for me? I
So,
can't promise to know what you're going to talk about because I don't keep up with all the drama stuff, right?
well, very fair, but I think you've been witnessing it grow over the last few weeks with, Mike from PEA growing more and more anti-Semitic to the point of yelling blood libel, Hassan, essentially being such an extremist. What was it, today or the other day? Forgive me. Went on a rant about how Kamala Harris would be the exact same as Donald Trump. And now we have Destiny, who's just openly wanting to dox people.
Okay, well, doxing is bad. I disavow doxing. Anyone who's doxing, left, right, center, my team, their team, Destiny's team, Hassan's team, any team that doxes, you shouldn't do that. I disavow doxing, bad. Okay.
But it's not just, in essence, disavowing. Do you not think that just as you were equally saying that, for Pisco and Econoboy, we should despise any connections or, affiliating with what they are, especially in the Democratic Party? Do you not think
What do you
equally
mean?
so would be Destiny and all these other people who have gotten more extreme over the last year?
So I don't have the same opinion or argument as Destiny when it comes to Pisco and Nagano Boy. And I think I said this after the panel that I had with them a couple weeks ago when Destiny had left. I don't think Econo Boy should have left Live and Learn or should have been kicked out of Live and Learn. I don't think that Pisco needs to disavow or stop working with Straightering. I do think that the Democrats, as a rule, and Pisco and Econoboy, I think that their ignorance of what I think the left, the lefties, the socialists, the communists do in these spaces is what makes it a problem. If they are aware, right, that a lot of socialists, a lot of communists will try to subvert and infiltrate these spaces, I think it's fine to work with them or on a specific issue, and I think it's fine to have them on your show or even co-host with them, right?
But
yeah.
I think it's getting a little bit lost because I'm not just focused on the aspects of them being socialist or, Hassan Piker being a freaking tanky.
Oh, you're talking
I'm more
about doxing. Yeah, I think doxing is...
No, not just doxing. It's the notion of we have now allowed a festering idea of extremism is okay within our party to the point where anybody that goes low, we need to go lower.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get revenge on you for what you did is a problem. I agree as a concept. I think that, and I've argued with Destiny about this, right? That he's like, well, they're doing it, we should be able to do it too. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, especially in situations where the other side is doing what I would consider immoral actions. I don't think we need to sink to their level, and this is an argument me and Destiny have had many a time, right? He knows my stance on this. I know his stance on this.
But I get that from... I get that from your standpoint, but is it not time to say that he has become so, not him specifically, but all these characters has become so cancerous to not just the party, but just even platforms altogether, where now we're seeing like Nicholas Diorio have a commentator civil war over this entire situation?
I don't know. Like, I know who he is. I just don't know what you're referring
It's
to.
the whole situation where Destiny and Willie Mac show are like talking and like co-friends in regards to the doxing situation against Augie and a bunch of other stuff that's going on. But like, that's just what I'm saying. It's even gotten to the point where it's spreading past political communities.
Names I'm not familiar with.
A
But,
small commentary, guys.
Oh no, hold on. I think that it's not okay. I'll be real with you. It's not coming from on top and seeping to the small commentary communities. It's the opposite. Commentary has always been this way. This is not new. This is not different. This is standard practice for them forever. What's different is it's seeping up into these more mainstream kind of bigger platforms, and they are, for whatever reason, being able to pull levers on these bigger stages. But no, this isn't new kind of behavior.
I'm not saying that it's new, but I'm saying in the past how people used to be ejected from YouTube. We should treat those like Mike from PA, like Hassan, like freaking Keffels, like freaking Destiny as aerosol in the past, and completely get rid of them. Stop thinking or caring.
There's two things. Someone wants to come on, I guess, and fight you on the doxing thing. Is that okay?
I guess.
I guess too. But before I do that, I don't know who he is. Maybe he's stupid and we'll kick him. I don't know. But the second thing I ask is, before I bring him on, what is your advocacy here for me, right?
My advocacy for you is, even though I understand, especially with your conversations recently, he's a bit of a cash cow, to no longer associate or work or utilize him like aerosol of the past.
Oh, well, I would have I've had Nazis on my show. I would have a murderer on my show. I'd have a rapist on my show. I'm not here like platforming you or having you on my show doesn't mean I condone your actions in any way, shape, or form. And if I'd have a Nazi on the show, if I felt it was appropriate to the topic, why would I not have someone who even if I will grant you everything you said, is a doxer on my show? Why wouldn't I do that?
Mm, probably
I'd have a
because we
socialist on my
shouldn't.
show. I'd have a communist on my show.
Well,
I've had
because it's
communists on my show before.
it's not the theory or the ideals that they apply to. It's the action that's committed that we don't want in civil society. The same reason why I have a small platform, but I've been so scared to actually join the internet is because of this type of idiocy.
People are asking, would I have Hassan on my show? Yes, I'd have Mike from PA on my show. I've had Tankies on my show. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like this.
I think what's getting lost a little bit is though it's not just their ideals; it's the actions and what they say and
who
do.
have behaved badly. Hassan, who I believe has behaved badly and done bad actions. Like I'd have them on my show, right? I don't see being on my show as me condoning what you are doing. If they've done something illegal, right? Then the law should take care of that.
Then do you not think, or actually not even not think, prior to you getting the gentleman on, would you say that it's whatever in your mind, or it's a negative that the Fuck America tour had a bit of difficulty starting up due to what is his Destiny attitude, especially with the political sphere nowadays?
Again, as I've argued with Destiny, I think it loses him opportunities. I think it hurts us. I think it hurts Democrats. I think it hurts our electoral ability. And we've had this argument. Yes, I agree with you on there. But let's bring in the gentleman.
Of course.
Hello, gentleman caller.
Hello.
Yellow.
You had an issue with this guy, so go ahead. Make me content, baby.
Yeah. So first of all, you say that you should eject Destiny because of the doxing. Do you think that all doxing is the same? And is doxing always bad?
I mean, I feel like that's a little bit of a silly question, but not all doxing is the same. But, you know, doing dox for whatever reason is wrong. I can say that, yeah.
It's not for any reason, it's for a specific reason.
I'm more talking about outside of the legal perspective and more of just the social acceptation that we have of the practice.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So it sounds like you want to argue the legal notion.
Let Raymond, is that your name? Let him finish.
No, it's DRT0, but I can't change it in the server.
Sorry. I'll change it for you. Go ahead.
Thanks. What I wanted to say is that from moral perspective, there's different. You can do the same action, but it has different morality based on the circumstances. So someone might dox someone out of the blue without provocation, without reason, and we would generally almost always call this a bad action. But then there might be another circumstance where someone is getting harassed constantly with no recourse behind anonymous accounts, and there is no legal recourse for this. Why is it bad for that person to retaliate in some way?
So, forgive me, he's the victim in this situation? I just want to make sure that
we're... He's a victim of doxing and everyone around
him. Well, no, I'm talking about the victim of the situation in which we're talking, especially with how he has so much animosity against JStock, which got me booted from his Taliban.
Yeah,
because I said, hey, why are y'all promoting doxing material when the rules even say don't dox?
That whole community has been harassing and threatening and doxing his whole stuff and friends and anyone.
So other than JStock being a not good person, right, and showing, hey, this is information on the internet that's being talked about, is that equally the same or comparable to Destiny actively trying to figure out how to dox these people and then booting people from his communities who point out that they are breaking their own rules?
What rules are you breaking?
As I even said, though a straw man example, I got booted from his Dalaban community for pointing out that people are doxing, which goes against the rules of the community.
I think the rules are changed now. Is that a problem to you? Can rules not be changed
It's
with the
not the,
circumstances?
it's not an issue of the rules being changed. What I'm trying to focus in conversation with you right now is, how is Destiny a victim of JStock when Destiny is being on the offensive to the point where he's breaking his own original rules?
How is
I don't
he
know
on the
if they've
offensive?
changed.
How
Has
is
he
he on
not
the
been
offensive?
once again, has he not been actively going after and trying to acquire the doxing material of JStock?
After months of harassment from that whole Discord and their association with Kiwi Farms, with commentary rejects like Quiman and other
I agree that
subhumans
these
like that.
people are deplorable, but are you telling me that any utilization of Kiwi Farms to gain material on another person is harassment?
They're not just gaining information, they're cooperating and sharing, like they're strategizing, they're actively encouraging people to dig up information on his associates and his people around him.
Yeah, I've heard Willie Max say that too, but you know, usually when he has a clip to produce, he didn't produce it this time. So I guess what's the evidence that you're describing about this?
Well, I can
because it's a
I
bit
can
conspiratorial,
actually,
no?
hold on. I can actually speak to at least Queeman in this. I had a issue with my teeth, as most of you know, and I made a GoFundMe for it to raise some money so I could fix it. That took a while, right? Because of stuff that I needed to take care of in my mouth, right, to get that prepared and things like that. There's some reasons why it was taking a while, and I switched dentists a couple times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Queeman basically made up a rumor about me that I had stolen the GoFundMe money, that I had absconded with it, that I had pulled a Keffels, if you will. And I know that Queeman engages in these practices because he's done it with me, right? He has actively sent people.
May I ask, is he the source originator or no? Because
Yeah,
I know
he's the
Andrew
one who made
Wilson
this,
also
yeah.
said that.
He's the one that made the whole hashtag Toothgate and propagated it and sent his people over here, etc. That's all him. Yeah.
Well, then when it comes to
why
raiding
would he,
servers
like,
and whatnot,
so
and
just
once
real
again,
quick-
like I said, these
just real
people
quick,
being
just real quick,
deplorable.
just real quick.
Okay, please
Just real
go.
quick. So when people are like, "Well, where's the evidence?" I'm the evidence. He's done it to me. And if he did it to me, he'd do it to other people. He did it to Tom, right? Him and that whole community went after tomfoolery like this and just made shit up. They engaged and they went and they coordinated, right? They coordinated together for the purpose of trying to destroy someone, right? They have done this before. This is how they act. This is how they operate. We know this because they continue to do this. To act as ignorant of that at this point, you either A, haven't been following along, which is fair enough, there's a lot there, or B, I think it's willful at this point. They absolutely...
Then let me just say, like I even said earlier, from what I do know about these characters, they are already deplorable, and the fact that they're raiding and being assholes about the Toothgate situation is very crappy. It sounds like that they're taking advantage of a situation to gain fame and attention. That's bad. However, in my mind, what's worse is trying to get people's doxing information. And somebody even posted it in your freaking thing, but, you know, scream about how badly he wants to kill them.
Look,
do you not think that this is having that horrible and negative effect that we're describing? Equally so as you said about Queeman with the tooth.
Do you remember when these people went after Elder Drazi and they put public information, or they put information that he did not want to be public out, and then when people confronted them about this, they were like, well, no, it was public information, we could just find it easy, even though he didn't want it out. It's not doxing, gang. Like, this is what they do. They will do exactly what they complain is being done to them, but when they do it, it's okay, and when the other people do it, it's not okay. Now, that's not to say, again, and I think I've made this clear, that what Destiny and his community is doing is okay, and like to retaliate. I don't think retaliation is okay either. However, let's not act as if Queeman, especially, is an innocent party. This guy is a
I'm not-
known harasser. He's a known doxer. He's a known stalker. He's a known liar. We know this.
I actually think retaliation is perfectly valid. Why should
So
you have
I do-
why should you have anonymity when you're the one who is trying to take anonymity away
Okay.
from other people?
From even what Wick was saying, and like I said, these people being very shitty, it sounds like that they were able to just find, cross, and acquire this information in a similar way that H3H3 did with that Instagram character. Do you have problem with that, Wick?
I don't know what you're talking about with H3.
There's the entire like Hassan community is flipping out about it, but Ethan is H3H3, forgive me, doxed somebody, right? Because he found their public Instagram and showed it on his.
Dox them, then that's bad. I don't know.
But
I know-
that's what
I
I'm
know
saying.
what he's
It's not
talking about.
what you're
doxing.
talking about.
Can
You can explain this, please.
Can you? So what Ethan did was, I think someone was talking like leaving like really nasty comments on Elo's page or something like that on Instagram. So he clicked on his profile, and everything and his information was there. Like it's a public profile with his name and everything. And he's living. It's like going on Facebook and writing to, let's say, Destiny. I will kill you, Zionist, and he clicks on the Facebook profile, but on Instagram. That's the ones on one side of the coin. You have this, and you call this doxing. I don't think so. But let's compare with what happened to Willie Mack and his fiance and his wife. Do you think it was the same process to get his real name, to get her full name, to get their wedding invitations, to make a video about it, and with plausible deniability, censor just part of the image, pretending that you're censoring everything?
The same plausible deniability of just claiming that those others that you already have issue with due to conversation on Twitter are the ones that are doxing Willie without evidence. But then equally so, we know that Bad Empanada did dox him, and who is publishing and showing that off to then gain access to his enemies? Fucking Destiny.
Bad Empanada.
Like, holy
Bad
shit,
Empanada-
once again,
Bad
we're
Empanada-
going back. We're going back to, it's not just
Yo.
hey, we're acquiring information and being really shitty, but now it's, hey, I'm actively doing this horrible action because I feel slighted.
Bad Empanada literally doxed Willie and did all that. What are you talking about?
Because you were just promoting about how it was like Queeman and J-Stock and all these other people.
No, you're saying that
You're
it is
mixing up different
equivalent. You're saying that it is equivalent what is being done to like the Destiny orbit to what they are doing to the other side. And I'm telling you, it's nowhere near the same, because and you gave the example of H3H3. H3H3 clicked on a random hater that is using his public profile to harass his wife and his family. That is not the same as Bad Empanada going on like a full internet hackerman crusade against him and his wife and finding their wedding, potentially putting them in danger during their wedding day. It's like night and day.
Well, yeah, I was kind of showing, and that's why I highlighted with Destiny. And forgive me, because I thought differently of the H3H3 situation. I thought it was a cross link where he said, oh,
No.
here's this account, it's linked to this, so let me click to that. Oh, all of his information is right there. Which, as I even said, if it was the cross-link situation that Queeman did in JStock or whomever, as, you know, Wick was describing, they're shitty and crappy for doing that. It's different than actively going and utilizing your community and then being, you know, acting hypocritically to then do this action.
So first of all, if I'm pretty sure there was no cross-linking, if that's the same situation we're talking about, first of all. And second of all, you are trying to somehow put more blame on people retaliating against a community that has been engaging in vile behavior without provocation, that you're saying that the retaliation against this is somehow worse.
I'm not. I'm
Damn,
saying
no
that
one's
he is going on the offense because he feels slighted that JStock is hosting
You can't
and
see going on the
disgusting
offense.
and going online talking to Cherry and doing all this shit that upsets his feelings.
How are you saying it upsets his feelings when
Because
they're
it's very
doxing-
clear when he
okay,
goes
they're
on a
doxing
tirade of
everyone
his
against
Discord
him.
that he clears of how badly he wants to go after JStock and even saying he wants to kill them.
So if
Yeah,
everyone,
that's
if
an
everyone you
issue.
talk to, if everyone
$5
you
just real
talk
quick.
to,
Just for real quick, I gotta make a little money, gang. And gang, I don't want to become the slump guy. I don't want to become the drama shit. Okay. I mean, it's interesting. We'll go with it for a little bit, but I'm getting bored. $5 from Cycler to say, ask this guy if they consistently harass and there is no legal recourse and the police don't do shit. What do they do? I'm assuming that's to you.
Okay, no legal recourse and the police don't do shit. What do they do? Like
Well,
the individuals
if you
in these
were,
communities?
well, I guess what he's asking, as I understand it, say every day you have a group of people that are doxing you or trying to dox you, and they're trying to harass you. They come in, they harass you. You report it to the authorities, you report it to the mod teams, you report it to whoever. No one does anything about it. Are you, in your opinion, supposed to just take it? At what point do you start fighting back?
You don't, and you let it die by letting it die in silence. Like, that's why I find it
so naive.
hilarious. Can you please let me finish? That's why I find it hilarious, because the biggest person keeping Hassan alive is Destiny. Because he just won't let him die and stop talking about him. For God's sakes, the biggest reason why I know so much about Hassan is Destiny.
Hold on, doesn't
you're
Hassan
so
have
delusional.
like 50,000 viewer live streams? Like, isn't Hassan
On
orders
Twitch.
of
How
matters?
popular is he on YouTube?
He's also popular on Twitter, on TikTok. He has even YouTube channels.
Well,
multiple
yes,
YouTube
because
channels.
just as we were talking about of the issue of extremism and whatnot, where do you think they most likely fester?
I don't know
Twitter,
what you mean.
Reddit,
So, like,
these communities that allow and promote and, kind of like softly introduce into
delusional
other
if you think
communities
Destiny is the reason
extreme
Hassan is
ideals. I mean, literally, Hassan got popular because of Destiny. Are you stupid?
in the year
What the fuck are you
2025,
saying?
in the year 2025, why is Hassan popular right now?
Because he
Destiny-
continuously promotes terrorism, and his fucking Destiny continuously attacks him. That makes wonderful clips for
easy
Twitter.
question for you to determine if you are actually for the asylum. If tomorrow Destiny disappears, he goes into witness protection, disappears. You're saying that Hassan will become irrelevant.
No, I'm saying that he would lose relevance because those that don't get
Will-
attention die.
You're
Die off,
saying
not
that-
literally
You're
die.
saying that he will be like half as important as he is now.
Forgive me, isn't that what happened with that one crazy guy who made a 50-page docs about who Destiny sleeps with? That nobody talked to him, and now he's, castigated to the edges of social
You're
media?
Are you
So what the
comparing
fuck are you
Mr.
talking
Girl-
about?
Mr. Girl
Yeah,
with
Mr.
Hassan?
Girl. Nobody fucking
Bro,
talks to him because he went
where do you find
crazy
these
and got
people?
ousted. Like,
Wick, I want the moderator to give opinion. Do you think if Destiny disappeared tomorrow, Hassan will follow the fate of
Of course
Mr.
not.
Girl?
Hassan has a whole team behind him. He gets on NPR. He gets on CNN. He has a lot of journalists that prop him up and give him attention.
did I
Thank
say
you,
that
thank
he
you.
would die or that he would lose relevancy and eventually
don't
die?
think he
Kind
would
of
lose
like how he was the
relevance.
largest streamer on Twitch and is now getting beat by Asmongold, who's kind of fucking stupid, no?
Do you think he will lose any relevance, Wick?
Would he lose any relevance? I don't
Like,
think so. I think that he'd
significant.
just be free to. What I think would happen is him and Asmongold would go at it, and they would flip farm each other, and that would be that.
I think this is somewhat delusional if you cannot see a big
Hold on,
issue.
dude, how many viewers does Asmongold get? Like 100,000 a stream? Like, he's huge, isn't he?
I'm saying it is a bit delusional to think that one of the biggest characters being, who is so inflamed against that it garners attention to is Destiny with
Bro, you
Hassan.
have Destiny derangement syndrome. Everything around you revolves around Destiny. Even Hassan,
No,
who is like
because it was
5
literally
times or
we need
6
to
times
oust
bigger.
these people, just like we should with Mike from PA,
Your
just
mission
like we
is to
should from Hassan. We should do
you're
the same with
backwards-
Destiny from
backwards
the left.
rationalizing reasons to kick Destiny
I'm not. It
out
sounds
of
like you weren't
social
listening
circles.
originally when you were here.
No, I'm listening perfectly. So you tried the docs thing, it doesn't work. You're trying now to say that the
I
reason
mean,
Hassan is
wait.
popular is
How did the
Destiny, it
docs
doesn't
thing not work? Because it absolutely did. It just sounds like you don't understand because you don't want
because
to.
when someone is attacking you and attacking
Uh-huh.
everyone around you and is
So
attacking
once again,
everyone
how
who-
is
who-
Destiny the victim
Can I
in this
finish?
situation? As I said earlier, that you
Can
never
I explain
answered.
how he is?
You
Can I
can if you
explain?
answer the question.
Yes, I'll explain how Destiny is a victim in this situation. So you have a whole anonymous community that is constantly coordinating harassment campaigns against not only him, not only people around him directly, not only people who talk to him online, but people who mention him online and don't immediately condemn him are also threatened, doxxed, and harassed until they anathemize him completely.
So what was the
This-
harassment
so
campaign that these
put
people
yourself-
did? Let me finish.
yourself-
What was the harassment
Hold on, you
campaign
gotta
that
let
these
him-
people
hold
did
on, you
that
gotta let
made
him
Destiny?
finish before you interrupt him.
He's literally monologuing without getting to the point. Because what did
explained
these
why.
people do? No, you didn't. What was the action?
why-
That they were talking about how Destiny did some fuck shit with Pixie? Where, hey, even though it may not be a win in Pixie's case, he's still a crappy person and
So
they talked about it?
Hold just
This
real
is
quick.
fucking ridiculous.
Just
Can I
real quick,
explain?
Van. Hold on, just real quick, Van. What did Ukrainian Anna do that required Ryle Kittenhouse to say that she should be raped?
I don't know because
Did Ukrainian
isn't Ryle
Anna
Kittenhouse
do
a
anything
massive Twitter guy?
inappropriate with a woman or a man? Did she engage in any sex pestery? Did she engage in any doxing behavior?
I don't know. It sounds more like the animosity of what is a lackey for J-Stock and who perceives somebody being a lackey for Destiny.
What I'm asking this for, the reason I'm asking is because she has been a victim of this harassment campaign that they have engaged in, right? Because she is associated with Destiny. So when this gentleman here, DRT0, says that these people engage and attack people who are even just associated around Destiny, this is one example of him being just correct.
Which literally was initiated, like
Or
I
Hutch.
said, when they simply started discussing the Destiny Pixie situation. That started the fallout, where Destiny was going after these people's information. So how is he a victim of harassment in this case? Now, to the degree in which you describe of, this woman in Destiny's community versus Ryle Kittenhouse, sounds like the fallout of those who perceive they're in an internet war.
Bro,
Do you disagree
so
with that?
I disagree. So you're
I'm
saying
asking
that-
Wick.
Oh, I was only half listening. Can you repeat?
That what this is, that what we're seeing now of the woman that you described being attacked by
Anna?
Kyle, yeah, her being attacked by the Ryle Kittenhouse character
Yeah.
is because it is the end abouts of what we see of an internet war and not the trigger in which we are describing and talking.
The trigger. What do you think the trigger is in this?
It was these small communities talking about Destiny and Pixie situation.
And you think that this is what?
That is what ultimately started this massive fallout.
Does it matter what started it? At the end of the day,
Apparently so, because this is what
If it matters
deems
what
to
started it.
Destiny being a victim and how he is then allowed to take the offense,
I disagree
as
with the
DRTO is
I
describing.
disagree with
No,
DRTO
no.
that allows him to engage in the same kind of practices. I don't think that's right, and I don't think he should be doing that. I think that's wrong of him to do so. DRT0 and I disagree on this. But to act as if these people are being attacked are just simply innocents that aren't engaging in the exact same fucking behavior is laughable, honestly, to me. They're both
the reason
engaging in the shittery, okay?
the reason I said that it's not the reason I said it's retaliation, and it's, in my opinion, justified retaliation, is not because they were talking about the Pixie situation. This is not the reason Destiny is. This is not the harassment. The harassment is everyone around him being threatened, being doxxed, even regardless of the Pixie situation. Just mentioning Destiny in a positive manner without without saying he's a bad person or anything like that is enough to get you doxxed on Kiwi Farms. Look at what happened to Hutch. He didn't talk about the Pixie situation like Ukrainian Anna, even though it's completely ridiculous to say that Ukrainian Anna talking about mentioning offhand that situation makes her a part of some holy war. Regardless of that, Hutch didn't do that, and he still got supremely harassed by that filth. So when everyone around you is getting done that to them, put yourself in that situation. If everyone you talk to who doesn't spit on you is like being harassed and gets threatened to get their lives ruined, wouldn't you retaliate? Wouldn't you think you have some moral authority to retaliate in that situation?
No. It would actually
then you
the
don't have
moral
morals.
authority.
Then you don't
No,
have
the
morals.
moral.
Sorry.
You freaking idiot! The moral. What you would do as the moral authority, especially being the larger platform, would be to move on or make jokes as he did in the past, not take the offensive and push his communities to dox people. What the hell are you on?
Platform size doesn't matter. This is asymmetric warfare. You have people who are anonymous versus person who has his name and face, and everyone he associates with have their name and faces. So you're putting you're saying that somehow because he's a big channel, he should allow everyone around him to get their lives ruined. This is ridiculous. If you were the big channel and everyone around you was getting their lives ruined because of something you did, you would also retaliate.
No. Once
Here's
again,
what I think should happen.
you would be the bigger man.
Here's what I think should happen. Trump should federalize the police to occupy the internet, basically. DGG and all these other communities should be sat on, and all of it should be demilitarized. Okay, gang? That's what I think should happen. Is there anything... look, I think this has gone on long enough. Thank you guys for calling in.
Can I say one final thing?
One final thing. Go ahead.
Check out my channel if you enjoy this convo. I'm trying to grow it.
Check him out, gang, I guess.
Can I do one speculation?
Do the one speculation real quick. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that guy is in those servers. So just
maybe.
keep that in the back of your
Yeah.
mind. Maybe someday we'll find him there.
See you later, buddy.
See you later.
Gang, it's all shittery to me. They're all a pox on all their houses, okay? Frankly. This idea that we can do unto others as they have been doing unto us works in certain situations but doesn't in others. I don't think it's appropriate to, if you're being doxxed, dox someone else as a retaliatory dox. I don't think that's appropriate. That's my stance. But everyone who says that, oh, you think someone's doing something wrong, you should never have them on your show ever again. I reject that too. I just don't believe that it is on me to pick the moral actors and the immoral actors when it comes to the content of my show. If I think someone is best suited to represent a position on my show, even if they're an actual murderer who's killed 12 children, right? And who eats baby hearts. And I think that they are a best representative of a position, then I will have them on my show. I will absolutely not condone what they do. And look, I'm not going to pay them any money or anything like that, right? But I don't know. I'm just I'm not a guy. I'm a free speech absolutist in this. I don't know what to tell you. Now, can you do something that gets you kicked off my show? Yeah, if you annoy me enough, but that's not a moral thing. That's just a me being annoyed thing, which is a different thing. Sneed McFeed, I would make more money. Do you know the most money I ever made on stream, Sneed McFeed? Do you think it was Destiny content? It was not. I would get many more numbers and viewers being a Destiny hater than I would being anything else. It's just how this works. Oh, when I took my shirt off? Well, yeah, sure. Man versus Baron Woods. Yeah, it was gender war content. It was gender war content, right? Which I hate, by the way, to a certain extent. Like, look, I don't actually hate it. Sometimes I hate it, sometimes I don't, right? But yeah, that's the most lucrative. If I wanted to be a red pill streamer, that would be the lucrative route to go. If I wanted to just be a money-making machine, I would just do red pill stuff every day, all day. If I did the same with Hassan, it would work too. Again, if you want me, if Hassan wants to be on my show, he is allowed on my show. He is not banned from my show. He's never going to come on my show. I would love to have him on my show, right? It would be a get to have Hassan Piker on my show. Why would I ever say no to that? Even though I have huge issues with who he is, what he stands for, and his stances. I think he's a danger to America, frankly. But I would have him on my show. I've had Cenk Uygur on my show before. He has been on my show. Cenk Uygur has been on my show. I don't know, man. Like, this idea that I would not have some big streamer on my show because I don't like them is just silly. It's just not true. I don't know what to tell you. 20 Wickers versus 1 Cenk? That's funny. Destiny says yes. That's my point. Destiny says yes to what? Yeah, Destiny says yes to coming on my show. Even though I disagree with him. Oh, Hassan has been awful quiet ever since Wick challenged Andrew to a boxing match. Fair. Let's bring in the next caller. Hi, you're live.
Hello.
Hi. What's up?
Hey, Wick. I guess I don't really have a topic necessarily go on. I'm
Hello?
Ragnar, by the way.
Hi,
I
Ragnar.
bother you on Twitter. I roll Ragnar there.
You're
Ragnar
roboting
is
pretty
too many
hard, Ragnar.
characters.
Hold on, just real
Like, I
quick.
forgot.
Just real quick, Ragnar. You're roboting really hard. It's really hard to understand you.
You know, I might have to go on at a time where I have better reception then and just try this a different week because I'm not going to be able to improve that anytime soon.
I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
Yep, all good. Thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah. I just
Cool.
wish I
Okay.
could
I'll
understand what
bother
you're
you
saying.
later at a different call and stream. Appreciate it. I'm just figuring this out. Okay.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful caller. It's just hard to actually understand what you're saying when you robot like that, and it's hard to have a conversation, unfortunately. This must be the male loneliness section. I'm lonely because no one's calling in, gang. I'm lonely because you, dear viewers, aren't calling into my show, and I would like you to call into my show to talk to me, and that would be fun. Well, we have a caller. Hello, you're live. Hi, you're muted on your end, sir. Or ma'am. I'm not sure. Hello. Uh-oh, gang. Uh-oh.
Hear me now. Hear me now. Hear me now.
Oh, I can hear you now. What's up, sir?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Like I didn't expect to. This is my first time you've chosen me, so I didn't expect to get on so fast. It kind of caught me off guard for a minute. So it was actually my fault. That was slow for a
You're
minute, so I
fine.
apologize.
What's up, brother?
All right. Thank you for calling me. It's actually the second time we spoke. Remember a long time ago, the Blue Sky debate? I was one of the people there.
Vaguely, but go on.
Okay, and I guess I'll talk something different. I might miss it earlier. You think that you agree that Trump putting like the National Guard in DC is wrong? Is that correct?
I think that he has legitimate authority to do it, but I think that he's using the authority in an illegitimate way because there is no actual emergency that would require the National Guard to be activated and put into place.
I agree.
He is saying there is an emergency, but he is not being honest in that. There is no emergency that requires this.
Yes, I agree with that. I guess the argument, I think if Dems need to like win on this issue, they need to say, like Memphis, for example, has more crime than DC by a long shot, or other cities. They can't just say, I think there's a catch-24 because crime decreased in DC last year, but it still has higher crime, let's say other big cities, let's say New York or Dallas. So saying DC's a perfect place with no problem whatsoever, I
No
think
one's
might be
saying that. I don't think.
Exactly. Oh, okay, that's fair. But I think that might be a problem if people downplay, say there's like no crime in DC, right? So I think the argument has to be that crime, this was not needed. It was going down anyway, and I think as a partisan Democrat, I think it's a fair thing for Democrats to be annoyed that they say crime's going out no matter what happens. In America, crime was lower in 2024 than it was in 2020. Trump said, they're eating dogs and cats. It would make up crimes, and says, crime is always higher when a Democrat is in charge. I think there has to be like some narrative against that, not just the constitutional argument, right? Just that people always will argue crime's higher if it benefits them.
Well, I mean, the problem is that there are a lot of there's a lot of prison abolitionists, and there's a lot of people who are anti-police that are on the far left, and the Republicans have done a very good job at pushing extremists on the left who are prison abolitionists and platforming them and saying these are mainstream voices and views in the Democratic Party when they're absolutely not. And I think that sometimes our politicians fall prey to this and will kind of try to cater to that block, and they absolutely shouldn't. Now, that said, I think you're exactly right that crime has gone down immensely. And has been on a decline for a long, long time. That said, right, I think that we can acknowledge that the amount of crime still is higher than we would like. And if we could implement a policy that would fix the crime and make it better, I think we absolutely should do that if the policy, 1, works, and 2, doesn't threaten our other civil liberties. And I would point to what Trump is doing with the National Guard and with the police force and point out that he is not being honest about why he's doing it. He's not being honest about the situation, and that as you said, crime was decreasing anyway. And if he wanted to put together a proposal to expand the police force in Washington, D.C., or something like that, I don't think that would be necessarily inappropriate. However, that's not what he's doing, and he's once again acting by fiat in order to basically use the National Guard as his own little personal little police force to do his own little policing thing. Here's a $5 from Van Olen to say the focus. Oh, okay. So $5 from Van Olen to say the focus wasn't just Destiny doing something wrong. It's if those 3 types of actions were being ousted from mainstream political discourse. I don't know about mainstream political discourse, but I'm not going to ban anyone from my server.
I gotta ask 2 questions of you,
What's
Wick. One, okay. Like I kind of agree. There's far left prison abolitionists to every police officer. Even now, like I think there's Democrats have made some attempt, I think Kamala said in like debate crime's lower under Biden, which was true, right?
Okay.
And even I think Zorhan, the one thing people have to say he moved back from was defund the police was bad.
Yeah.
So, Biden didn't defund the police. We had seen a more moderate guy. The sense of, do you think there needs to be almost like the Sister Souljah moment more, like Pete outright say, this person here is dumb, right? Like I always wondered if like there's someone insult Hassan Piker directly. How can Dems because it makes sense Republicans do that, what you're saying. Associate Dems with abolitionists, it works for them, right? It helps them. But I either just need more infrastructure, need more people yelling and screaming, a huge Sister Souljah moment. What's a generic?
I think that we do need to call this out more. We need Democratic politicians to call the bad actors out more. That absolutely needs to happen. But I think that also, and perhaps more importantly, is one of the first things we need to stop doing is stop catering to them. One of the problems that happens is that there are certain Democratic politicians who will mistakenly think that these voices are more representative of the voters than they are. And they will cater to those because everyone around them is saying that, oh, this is the issue, this is what the people care about, blah, blah, blah. But it's not. It's the advocates, right? It's their staffers and things. It's the people who don't represent the average voter or the normie, if you will, that might deeply care about these issues, but most people just don't. And I think that some politicians on the left sometimes fall prey to that. And they kind of get tricked a little bit into that. So that we need to stop that from happening. And yeah, we need them to call out these bad actors who are trying to push us in a far more extreme left direction. And I think that both of those things happen, it'd just be a net good for the Democratic Party.
I agree that happens sometimes, like Latinx and certain languages is probably like the big example,
ACAB
right?
was a great example of this, right? A lot of Democrat politicians, one of the reasons Biden won the primary is because he was specifically not that. And he was running against people who were. And so
I'll argue with that a bit there, right?
Go ahead.
There's in terms of elected politicians, I think off the top of my head, Rashida Tlaib said ACAB, but maybe there's people who said defund or they're interested in talking with people. I don't think anyone. I'm trying to think of elected Dem who was aside Rashida Tlaib, and maybe on the local level, I think Seattle had a prosecutor who said that, who said like Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Hakeem Jeffries has said, man, every police officer is a bad person. I hate him. I can't really think of any leadership that ever said something like that, right? So I think I think what you're doing, honestly, is good in a way, like having more liberal people. It seems like for a long time there was BreadTube and there was MAGA Tube, and there's really not much in between, right? So I think that more so than politicians, just having more sphere of more influencers who are like,
more liberals, yes.
I'm not MAGA, not socialist, right? So I think that helps a bit. But I got bringing up Sister Souljah is, I think, Kamala and Biden really didn't say every police officer was bad. They said, yes, and 6 was bad. The the American Recovery Plan, had funds to police departments. He says, good, I'm glad I helped the police out. He said, I feel like, and I think if your argument is you're always going to be defined by random activist, that's just going to be a tough mistake, right? I always say Dems maybe should do kind of the opposite, like find guys like Michael Knowles who are hate women and make them more known, right? Like find crazy Republicans.
We should. One of the self-owns, I think, that we did back in the 2000s and prior, or not the 2000s, to 2020 and prior, right? Which I think 2020 was like peak cancel culture, if you will. I think cancel culture actually hurt the Democrats, and not just because people didn't like cancel culture, but it silenced the crazies on the other side. Like we literally silenced them, and so these people didn't go away. It's just it was harder to point them out because they were gone, and they looked like less of a threat because no one could hear them anymore. But they absolutely weren't less of a threat, as we have found out, right? They were just harder to see, and the public couldn't see it as much, and it caused them to not think of them as the actual threat they were. So
I can see that point. I think Kamala actually did that a bit. Like she had some clips from like Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles. Even she had a quartering clip, believe it or not. That was like the quartering was very mad about that, and like her response team in the 107-day campaign. But I think it needs like long term, right? To like slowly build up. Just because it didn't work in a few months, it might work over time if people willing to bait
It
conservatives.
has to be a consistent effort. It can't
Yeah.
just be something you do right before the election. Yeah.
Want to hear something like unpopular that you probably disagree with me, and I'm a nobody, so who
Sure,
cares
go
if the chat
ahead.
doesn't
Give me your hot take here.
I think that like also, the cancel culture is bad. We also know the thing is, far left couldn't control the country or like huge elections, but they did control certain media sites, like Twitter, like pre-Musk Twitter. It was easier to ban if you were far left. I almost think if things were less, in Singapore, for example, Singapore enforces you can't insult any religion. Like you can't insult Jesus, you can't insult Muhammad, you can't insult. If social media was like every crazy's banned, like you can see like far left would say want to kill the CEO or kill a cop, they're banned too, along with like the far right people. I think that might have actually led to a system of where the right actually didn't have more of a point, because if they might have been annoyed on a case by case level, but there's a case like, okay, these far left guys are getting banned too. People might have not been, the cancel culture idea might not have worked in that manner, because, and also a huge point is, even with Hassan now, Mike from PA, like Hassan's crew, it's obvious people who aren't affiliated, like, Mike from PA has called the death of many, like Ethan, like beat him up. He's called for physical violence against streamers many times. And I don't see like a new streamer with like 100 followers doing that not being banned. So I think the left did screw himself in not talking, but I actually did think they did control like the moderating teams of streaming sites.
You're not wrong. I think that and I push back against Pondering Politics, or Josiah, and some others on this. Like, I think that we underestimate sometimes on the left how much cultural power that the left does exercise in America. Like, even though they're not politicians saying this, it's the people who have control of the cultural levers of power in America that are saying this. And while we can't control them in the same way we can control politicians by voting them in, voting them out, etc., I do think we need to figure out a way to get them to just stop doing these actions. I think that you're absolutely correct when you say, had moderation been applied with an even hand, it would have been better. I still don't think that's an ideal solution, because again, the crazies on each side. Here, I'll give you my take. It is important that we know who the crazies are, and the way to do that is to let them speak. And they can say the crazy shit that they say, and then we know that guy's a threat. That guy, we don't want to turn our back on that guy because he's going to stab us in the back. So I don't want Mike from PA banned. I don't want Hassan banned. I don't want any of these people banned that I disagree with. Even Queeman, I wouldn't want him banned, right? I think that allowing them to say unhinged shit actually inoculates us a little bit against the unhinged shit. Again, this is in a vacuum. There are other forces at play. There are other things that are going on that amplify things. You got Russian bot farms and things like that. But I think that overall, one of the ways free speech protected us is it allowed the crazies to speak, and it kind of gave us a vaccine, if you will, against the craziness. Now, when we started cancel culturing, and when we started kind of like, we hurt our immune system, basically, our cultural immune system, and we're still recovering from that. That's my take.
I can see that point. Thank you for having me on, Wick. I'll let someone.
Sure.
I'll let someone else go.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you later, Evercore. Bye.
No problem.
What a pleasant caller, gang. What a pleasant caller. Oh, we got Vladimir Putin in the chat. Would I let Vladimir Putin on my stream? I would let Vladimir Putin on my stream. The problem is Vladimir Putin wouldn't ever come on my stream. And frankly, I don't know if I'd go to Russia to have Vladimir Putin on my stream, because he might kill me. And I don't want to die. So yeah, that is the issue there. That is a bad thing. Gang. There is a statistic I saw yesterday that I want to talk about. And it's more cultural than political, but I think it's important. For those of you who saw me on CubeBot on Monday, I met there one of the top, or Sunday night, I should say. one of the topics that came up was AI girlfriends and how they were a danger to society. And I believe they are. But did you guys know that AI boyfriends are like 10 to 100 times more popular? I did not know this until I looked into it, right? I did not know just how many women are turning to basically AI for companionship instead of men. That is insane, gang. That is insane. I think that there's a lot to unpack here, right? Why are women more susceptible to this? At least, why are they choosing to go with this more than they are men? And why are men not going towards the AI women at the same rate? Gang, like, maybe Xerxes is right when he says that women just don't like guys. Women just don't like men in the same way that men like women. Look, we got our problems. Men have our issues. Absolutely. We are absolutely can be pretty terrible sometimes. But damn, right? Men will die for a woman. They will take a bullet for a woman. Okay? I don't know. I don't know. The stats are just, look, I used to think it was a pretty 50-50 thing. I used to think, and I still do, but I'm doubting it now. I'm on the cusp of changing my mind. I haven't quite yet, but I'm seeing more and more evidence pile up to suggest that I was simply wrong. So my take, right, was that, oh, you know what? Some women are shitty, some men are shitty to each other. Yes, some women just don't like men, some men just don't like women. But these are pretty comparable ratios, and one isn't more responsible than the other for anything that's happening and all that. But then I look at a thing like the AI boyfriend community on Reddit having, what, 80,000 members, and the AI girlfriend community having 8,000 members. And then watching people with AI boyfriends, right? These women call themselves a marginalized community. I don't know, man. I don't know. That post was fake, Tessie Johnson says. Was it fake? No. Maybe like I said, if the numbers aren't accurate, then my view remains the same. But yeah, it's just something I've been looking into a little bit. I've been thinking about. I've been considering, because I think there is something to it. I think there is something to be explored there. Why? Well, look at literature. Women retreat to these kind of bodice ripper literature in a way that men simply don't. Women absolutely consume some pretty crazy pornography too. Like, I'm talking like violent pornography. I'm talking like sick shit. Okay? In a way that men don't to the same degree. Okay, Alexis, jump backstage. Hello.
All right. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me mute your stream.
Okay, what you got for us?
All right. Sorry, hold on. Let me turn on my video. There we go. All right.
Oh, VTuber. Okay, how you doing?
All right. I got a contention with what you're talking about right now.
Give it to me. I'm ready.
Okay, so going on the part of the AI, I haven't seen the image you're talking about, but everything that I've seen says that men are more likely to use AI than women. which I think would follow the most common sense path, since
Are we
especially
talking, just real quick, are we talking general AI, or are we talking specifically AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends?
I would say both probably.
Interesting.
In general, guys are more technological than women, and women are just kind of more getting into computers now. So I think
that
even
true?
naturally,
That-
we would
that's-
probably see men
That
gravitate
seems kind of
towards tech fields and tech
misogynistic,
things.
ma'am. Like, you
Yeah,
don't
well,
think that
okay, I'm
women
not
are
saying
into
the trend isn't
technology?
changing. The trend is definitely changing, but I would naturally, just as we see men in general, we're more likely to be in tech fields and gaming and things like that. I would say the trend as of right now, as women still have less access to computers and gaming and are less encouraged to explore those uh, lifestyles and hobbies, I would say naturally men are going to gravitate more towards AI stuff. Regardless of that, though, when it comes to talking about like smut and things like that, yes, women are the book readers that love all that kind of like really sus book porn. Guys consume the video porn at way higher rates and are far more likely to watch smut in the form of like actual videos online.
I don't
So it's just
know
the
if that's actually true, simply because I've talked to
Mhm.
a lot of smut enjoying women in my time, okay? The video kind, the literature kind, all of that. Women are less likely to kind of report that they do this, especially to like pollsters and things like that. But they will absolutely talk amongst themselves and tell the people that they trust. Look, women can be gooners too. And I think that
Oh, don't
women
get me wrong.
are
Women are gooners.
absolutely, in
But
many
I don't think
cases,
there's any
way more
disproportionality.
goony than men. Okay, they absolutely are. I don't know who's been lying to you, but they absolutely can.
I
Are
don't think
far
there's
more
any
degenerate
difference
in
in the
many cases.
gooning. I think the difference is in the medium that they choose to goon in.
No, I agree that women mostly do the literature stuff, and men are more visual in nature, and they
Mm.
tend to the visual stuff, right? But again, I think that look, why do you think 50 Shades of Grey was super popular, right? It wasn't because a lot of men watched that movie or read that book, right? It was because women wanted that kind of degeneracy in their lives, and that's what they fantasize about and things like that. And I mean, look, no judgment. If that's what they want to do, more power to them. But I think that it would be a mistake to think that AI girlfriends or AI boyfriends are particularly dangerous to women or to men, when I would argue that women, again, I would say that these things are going to be coming for women in a way that we are not prepared for. It's going to be really, really
Uh,
bad.
yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting thing to explore. As far as like the statistics and stuff go, it's definitely that men consume far more porn
We
than
may
women.
hold on. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a panel on this next week, gang. Maybe
Yeah, we
we'll do
could.
a who's the bigger gooner or
I'll
who's
pull up
the
all the I'll do all the research and
you'll do
I'll
all the
pull up
research, you'll
all
get
the
the
stats
gooning
and
out of the
links.
way. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough. We'll figure it out. But no, it should be an interesting topic because again, like I said, my stance, I'm on the cusp of
Mhm.
changing my mind, but I haven't yet, right? But I think that it's pretty 50-50 at the moment, right? But I am seeing evidence that, gang, maybe women are the problem. Maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out. I'm more open to it now than I was
I'm a
yesterday.
professional women hater, but I
Based-
draw the line right there, sir.
Okay, a professional woman hater. That's my job. Okay. But a VTuber being a woman hater, name a more classic duo. Thanks for calling in, and I will
No
talk
problem.
to you later, okay? Bye-bye.
Yeah, hopefully you can have a less slow news day next week or something.
I know
and I can
there's
give you a
plenty
real
of news to
argument.
go over. It's just
It's so
we're getting
boring. It's like,
distracted.
okay, the only things that we've got up right now are the Supreme Court thing, which like, yes, it sounds scary, but it's probably a nothing burger because the Supreme Court never hears that
Well,
crap.
nothing's happened with it yet. On the Supreme Court thing,
Yeah,
because we haven't
we'll
gotten
find
to
out
that
in
in the
like
stream.
November.
Just real quick,
Mhm.
they haven't agreed to hear it yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they haven't granted
until
any,
they do
yeah.
that, it's really hard to kind of get worked up about it because they're asked to hear cases all the time on all
Yes,
sorts of
yeah.
crazy shit. I
They're
do
very
think that there
unlikely
is
to
a
hear it.
legitimate. I think it's legitimate to be nervous or concerned that they might take this up, especially given their track record. But
Mhm.
until they take that first step, there's just not much to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you asked me about it a year ago, I would said there's no shot. Now, of course, it's definitely a chance, but I think it's more of like something we don't really need to worry about until later. The Trump stuff's concerning, but I think if anything, it's more of just his ego flex, and even what's the lawyer that you had on earlier? What's his name? Ryan, the guy he
Yeah,
debated
Ryan.
Destiny recently. Yeah, Ryan. He It was just all it is, like, the way he had to justify Trump doing it was he had to describe him as, can I use the R word on Twitch? I don't
Retarded?
even know. Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
can use
He
the
had to describe
retarded.
him as a retarded 4-year-old to justify his use of of overtaking DC police force. His only justification for it was describing him as a literal retarded 4-year-old. That is just like, oh, he heard news of bad thing happening, so he took police over and said no more lawlessness. It's just like, okay, well, if you have to single-handedly admit that you consider Trump a retarded 4-year-old, then sure, awesome, yeah, he has the power to do that. I don't think I want a retarded 4-year-old running my country, but
Again, I think that Ryan gives a little too much charitability to Trump, and maybe it's just
yeah,
a dismissal.
just a little.
Yeah, just dismissal of him as like as an independent actor or as an individual actor. I do think that, like, again, this is just one more example of Trump using, and I don't disagree, it's a legitimate power he has. He can do it. It's legal, but he's using it for, in my opinion, illegitimate reasons and
Yeah,
in
that's
illegitimate
something
ways.
he actually missed too. Is there's an act that determines what you can and can't do, and what quantifies allowing calling a national emergency like that. And Trump is the most loose definition interpreter of that law possible. And so, even though he's saying that the president can do that, the use of the word "can" there is the most liberal use of that word I've ever heard in my life.
Well, thanks for calling in, ma'am, and I will talk to you
No
later.
problem.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good one.
We're getting VTubers up in here now. Wick TV is getting VTubers on his show arc, I guess. I don't know. I do want to do a show on that. Soy Pill, I saw you in chat. You wanna de-incelfy Wick? Do you think I'm an incel? Crazy work. I love women. Women are great. I just don't want them falling prey to the AI boyfriends. I worry that they will. I worry that they're gonna be trapped by the AI, by Skynet, and Skynet's gonna terminate them. Okay, that they're gonna get one shot by the AIs who will simply just agree with whatever they say. Right? Wick is voluntarily not having sex. True Volcel arc, maybe. Online Scammer says, I think it's okay to be a little black-pilled. Well, here's the deal with it. I do worry that human connection is being lost overall. And I think that there's good evidence that this is the case. Separating gender from it entirely, we see more and more people are turning away from being social and instead consuming what I would consider empty calories by getting a majority of their social time online. They are becoming less and less conscientious. They are becoming more and more misanthropic. They're just, again, I think, losing basic human interaction tools that we used to have, because they don't talk to each other in real life anymore to more and more degrees. I do think it's a problem. I do. And I think that social media has hurt us in ways that we are going to be paying for a long, long time. And this is, again, in the context of human interaction. So it's a problem. It's a problem. Online Scammer says, I think the lack of empathy we're seeing is leading to people judging each other superficially and is not incel. To point it out in women. Yeah. I mean, men do it too. Like, look, if you want to both sides of this issue, I think you can. I think that men are falling prey to many of these same traps. Here's the thing, though. It's not impacting women in the same way it's impacting men. And I think that mostly that's because society does not give a fuck about men. We do not care about men. We just do not care what happens to a man in the same way we would care what happens to a woman. If a woman came on stream and told my audience about a problem that she was having, as long as she wasn't fat, okay? As long as she wasn't fat, people would care about what she had to say in a way that is far, far different than what they would care about if I or some rando man came on and said the exact same thing had happened to them. That's just true. Like, the fatness changes the equation, unfortunately, for women. That's just true. And if you're denying it, you're just lying. Here's the totem pole, okay, of privilege, quote unquote. If we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this because I want to. Women, okay, that's who's women who are average looking or above. That's the highest of the totem pole. Okay, well, above them is pretty women. Okay, then you have average women. Then you have men, okay, in general. Then you have fat women below that. And then below that, you have gross-looking men, okay? So that's kind of the totem pole. So you have pretty women, average men, average and handsome men together, right? They're kind of lumped in. Then you have fat women, and then below that you have ugly, disgusting men. So yeah, ugly men are the bottom rung of society. And when I say that, I mean what society actually cares about what happens to you. No one gives a shit if some unattractive man has a bad thing happen to them. No one cares. When women are raped, it's a societal issue that we have to care about. When men are raped, it's a joke in a sitcom. When women are raped, it's an after-school special where we talk about how people need to be aware of this problem more. When men are raped, it's a joke. It's a punchline. It's just true. You guys are coping if you disagree with me. We see this constantly, over and over and over again. And we need to fix that. I want people to care about men again. And we don't. Brothers in my chat, I actually care about what happens to you. I do. Okay? I can't care about strangers like a ton. Fair, right? But I want to have a space where if you have a problem, you will be taken seriously, at least. Chad Vincent says, totem pole wick? I don't know if it works that way. Where's the old people and children in the pole? Short dudes? We're doing the gender totem pole, not the age totem pole. The age totem pole, everyone cares about kids. Then you have, I guess, everyone else, and then the elderly at the bottom. No one gives a shit about the elderly. Okay? No one gives a shit about what happens to old people. There's quite a contingent that just want old people to just die. They're like, fuck it. The old people can just die. I've seen people say this, like, without batting an eye, without worried about being canceled, without looking over their shoulder to see who's listening, to say, oh no, the world would be better off if men just, or not men, but if old people just went away. Soy Pill says, complaining about men not being taken seriously more than just normalizing taking them seriously is incel adjacent stuff. Yeah, it's an issue, but you seem to complain more than you foster. What do you mean, Soy Pill? Explain. Elaborate, sir. How did fat people make it to the totem pole then? Well, they didn't run. Let's be clear. No, I wanted to just make it clear that there are segments of women who are cared about less than the average man. They are. And fat women are that. People will care more about what happens to a man, the average man, than they do what happens to a fat woman. Even though they care more about what happens to the average woman than they do what happens to the average man. Concluding postscript says, Soy Pill is part of the problem. Well, I want Soy Pill to elaborate. I want him to be able to explain before I respond. Okala says, who gets laid first, the fat chick versus the ugly dude? Yeah, but that's a different thing than what I'm talking about. Alexander Wren for $10 to say, not sure why, but American culture has created a culture of elderly and their kids hating each other. Even worse, these old people run the country. Well, I don't know the cause of it. I couldn't tell you. But yes, I think that overall you're correct, is that American culture devalues the elderly, whereas Asian culture actually venerates the elderly. I think that Chinese culture specifically, in this one aspect, not overall, but in this one aspect, is actually superior to Western culture. They treat their elderly better, or at least culturally they say they do, and they say they care about it. There's issues in the margins, right? But yeah, it's a way of thinking. Laren the Lion says, yo, what's up? Rabid Wombat says fat chicks can get laid all day, every day. Yeah, but that's a different thing than people caring what happens to them. Coffee Margin says, why help society when you can cry and swim in your own tears? Do you guys think I'm just crying here? Look, if we want to fix a problem, the first step is to identify that there is a problem. And too many people do not, they'll either give lip service, say, yeah, of course men have it bad in certain ways, but that's not really the issue here. The real issue is X, Y, or Z. Or, men just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get that shit done because ain't no one gonna go save them. They need to learn to do it for themselves. Whereas if a woman would have the same problem, they would need systemic change in order to fix it. It'd be like, well, of course this woman's having a problem, but the patriarchy. And I think that sidesteps actually fixing what is going on here and what is wrong. Online Scammer says, I think grievances are totally valid, and people who frame it as just crying are just hostile to the critique. Let me bring on this caller. Hi, you're live.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, mate. Can you hear me at all? I'm just driving at the moment, so I've got my wheel bearings going nuts. So can you hear it going at all, or is
I
there
can
bad
hear you.
background?
Hopefully you're driving hands-free and safe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Just a couple of things, because I'm sort of firing from the hip. I think with this gender conversation, what sort of really annoys me nowadays, because I've been in like the culture slop for years now, but I think like the idea that like, oh, just go do something about it, stop whinging about it, is starting to kind of get on my nerves a little bit. You know what I mean?
Let's elaborate, please. Explain.
So I think, and this is just a feeling I have, but I think for like the last 20-ish years, I would say progressives and women have done like everything they can to like not invade, but like include themselves in male spaces, which probably needed to be done. But at the other hand, in the other hand, like there's no effort to try and rebuild these spaces for men. Does that make sense?
It does, but I don't know if that's the same problem, and I'm not sure if it's the major cause of the problem. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I don't think the fact that
Yeah.
women or progressives, if you want to call them that, are quote unquote invading men's spaces is why men are just not treated the same, or men are not valued in American society.
Okay, so sorry, I should elaborate. So what I think's happening is, lonely man says, "Hey, I'm not getting a lot of support from society. I'm developing these harmful views. I'm in these harmful echo chambers, and woe is me." Right? Most people would say to that low value man, "Do something about it." Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, they'll say go get therapy or something, right?
Yeah, go get therapy, go find healthier spaces, go do any of that. But my question is, where are those healthier spaces?
Wick TV's Discord.
Where does that?
Okay. The Wick TV
Okay,
streaming
that's
space.
one.
No, I say that tongue in cheek, but that's where they've turned to. They've gone to online commentary spaces, to online YouTubers to feel a sense of belonging and community, because you're right, they really can't find it in other areas, not that easily. We've lost third spaces in society just across the board in general for a lot of reasons, right? But yeah, they are going to YouTube, to social media, to all these other things, and the people who are saying that, you know what, we do actually care about you, are what I would consider very bad actors, like Andrew Tate.
Yeah, just buy my water supplement.
Yes, like they're people who are taking advantage of these young men who are struggling and who are having an actual issue, and society does not care about them, but there's a group of people who are actively preying upon them. A lot of the red pill community, I would consider, actively preys. Not all, to be clear. There's some I would consider actually good, or at least neutral red pill people, or at least people who think that they're trying to help, who are sincere in their efforts. But there's a lot of the bigger red pill spaces are just predatory towards men.
Okay, I'm curious, what red pill spaces are healthy? I'm just always hear the bad ones. So which ones, in your opinion, are healthy?
Well, I mentioned Xerxes earlier, and I'll just plug him. I disagree with him a lot on a lot of things, but I think that he's one of those people where if you are going and joining Xerxes' community, I don't think you're being preyed upon. I think that it is much healthier than Andrew Tate, for example. Now, does that mean it's a good space to go? I don't know, but it is much better. Hold on, Soypill, you disagree with me? If you had a son and you had to choose, do they go and follow Andrew Tate or do they follow Xerxes? I think this is a fucking easy.
It's a slam dunk, is it not?
Easy answer, right? Do you just Soypill? Fucking, what are you doing? Just come on. I don't like talking to chat. Just jump backstage.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna go buy something naughty, so I'll be back in a little bit. Thanks for the chat, Wick. I appreciate it.
See you later. Oh, it's my favorite person, Eucharist. What's up?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I got a child to bed, so I was able to hop on.
Oh yeah.
So I've only been listening intermittently for this. I don't want to talk about men. Men suck. Okay, I don't want to talk about men.
Men do suck.
I wanted to go back to the DC National Guard, DC Police thing. I saw you had Ryan on earlier. I didn't get to hear his thoughts.
Okay.
I'm sure they were interesting in some regard. The thing I wanted to say is this is the most, I think, MAGA boomer I get. Okay, like this is probably my most like Republican sounding opinion, but I am fully convinced that homelessness and everything associated with it, drugs and crime, etc., is like the most optically losing issue the left has, and that is a real pain for y'all when it comes to DC stuff. So one of the issues I've seen in the commentary on this is, questions about, the legality of this, what powers Trump has, what are the consequences of this, all of that important. I care about that. If I can give you, I hate arguing from anecdote, but if I can give you an anecdote, okay? I went to grad school in a small Midwestern city, Madison, Wisconsin, relatively small, 300,000-ish people. In the downtown area, decent amount of homelessness for the size, and there were several people who were sort of notorious for being not just annoying, but criminals. And so there was this one guy, Kyle was his name, freaking Kyle, man.
Fuck Kyle.
Kyle
Okay. Fuck that guy.
was well known for assaulting people. This is just a thing that he did. And so he'd disappear
Goddamn
sometimes for
Kyle.
maybe a month while he was waiting for bail money, and then he'd be out again. And in one case, he knocked an elderly man down, and the guy had permanent brain damage. In one case, he assaulted a woman, stole her stuff. He committed home invasions, but he was never in jail for more than a month or so at a time. And so everybody kind of posted in the neighborhood Facebook group, so, hey, Kyle's out. Like, just be aware if you're going up and down the street, he's punching people again, okay? Yeah, so things like that stick in people's minds in the way the crime stats don't. Right, so the line go down is not a good argument. It doesn't convince people. Like, so everybody I know who lives in DC, for example, has seen carjackings. Like, it's just a normal thing to walk down the street and see a carjacking. This is an anecdote that everybody has. So line going down doesn't matter to you if you see people getting carjacked regularly, right? So yeah, it's just a very interesting issue because I don't think there's any wins to be had here if you want to try to object to the Trump stuff. I don't support it, to be clear. I'm not justifying it. It's just a weird optic issue that I don't know how y'all solve.
It's an optical L for the Democrats that they talk about. Is that your position?
Well, yeah, they're like, look, the crime rates are going down. DC's not actually crime ridden. Come on, no, it's just these significant parts of it are, and people all have experiences with it, and all have issues. You're not going to win trying to say well, here's the FBI crime stats, guys.
No,
ignore the fact that your neighbor got carjacked.
I don't
right?
disagree with you on that specific line of questioning. What I would say is what I think is important to point out with the DC stuff. And what I think, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think it's winning, is that, hey, Trump is activating an emergency power. He is declaring an emergency in a place where there is no actual emergency. And this is a illegitimate use of what I would say he has the legal right to do this, right? It's a legitimate power he has, but he is using it in an illegitimate way because we could all look at DC and say, yeah, crime's bad, but that doesn't require the National Guard to go in and crack some skulls. Okay?
I can agree with you. You say we all can say that. Every conservative I know who lives in DC has tweeted over the past 12 to 24, and DC police have looked the other way long enough. Good, somebody's doing something, and that I don't know how you overcome that hurdle, right? Like, because I can say, yeah, I agree. This isn't a state of emergency. I think it is worse than some people would like to make it out to be. Like, it's a genuine problem, but I wouldn't call it a state of emergency requiring the National Guard. But the people on the ground, at least a large contingent of them, are just like, screw it, man. I don't care. It feels like an emergency to me. Whatever, I don't know how you overcome that barrier.
Soypa, you got any ideas on that before we move to our little argument there?
I don't think that Phil is wrong. Also, hi, Phil. Hope you're doing well.
Hello.
The idea that, it's the same as with the economy numbers. Biden had good economy numbers, but it doesn't matter if people struggling on the day-to-day. And, to your point about carjackings, Phil, the carjackings have dropped, I think, like 80% or something ridiculously high.
Right.
But that doesn't matter because that sticks in people's memories. And so you can just say the crime stats are down, but it doesn't matter if people have the precedent of the last 5 years being crimey. It is a very losing issue. I totally agree.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is I also am a kind of whiny lib in my circles, at least, being a conservative compared to most of my friends, I'm a whiny lib when it comes to like criminal justice reform. But this is another sticking point. If right now you try to talk about any kind of criminal justice reform, you just get hammered over the head with just like, look at all these examples of people who've done heinous things who are out on the street again. Another anecdote, the guy who stole my car out of my garage when I lived in South Carolina had 3 previous arrests for armed robbery, and they were able to track my car down because the dude was wearing an ankle monitor when he stole my car. So, it's that kind of thing just frustrates people. It sticks in people's heads. And so again, with much objection to the things Trump is doing, it's such a hard place for the left to be in to like purchase to object in a way that doesn't seem bad.
This is why I think that a lot of people will look the other way when authoritarian figures start to engage in authoritarian actions, is because they think, well, we can look the other way on this because there's an actual problem here that does need to be addressed, so we'll just pretend it's okay and let them do it. But I think that, and I don't, look, at the end of the day, I think this is actually the issue with it. So we can talk about messaging and things like that, and that's fair. But I think the actual problem here is that it showcases Trump's willingness to use authoritarian measures for his own personal benefit and for very nebulous reasons, and to basically lie about it too, because we both know, I think almost everyone knows, it's not an actual emergency that is intended for the federal government to nationalize the police and to use and to deploy the National Guard in this. It just hasn't reached that point. Now, that said, I'm with you. We can't, I think the knee-jerk to say, well, crime's actually good in there and there's no actual problem is retarded. We should not do that. But I think that it is important to point out that this is how authoritarianism gets its hooks in us, because we justify it. And that's why we need to talk about it.
No, I agree in principle. I think the difficulty is like the reason he's doing it, right? I agree. Is probably fundamentally self-serving. I think that's just sort of how he operates. But he's able to turn to the constituency right now and say they're clamoring for this, right? These people who are on the street experiencing this, who don't have who don't have armed security guards, guarding them when they leave their house, like these people are the ones who want it. Like, and so he gets to have this sort of rah moment, and the people who are objecting to it come across as sort of dismissive of that clamor. Absolutely. And it seems like and I don't want to call it an unbridgeable gap, because I would hope there's a way to do it. I think you're right. Like, you need to hammer home the principle, but I honestly don't know how you do it without like becoming the butt of the joke.
There's
basically.
A quote I like. Let me find the exact quote so I don't misquote it. But if you
it's going to be the Franklin quote.
The trouble. It's going to be Mencken, actually. H.L. Mencken said this, and it's one of my favorite quotes. He said, "The trouble with fighting for human freedom is that one spends most of one's time defending scoundrels. For it is against scoundrels that oppressive laws are first aimed, and oppression must be stopped at the beginning, if it is to be stopped at all." And this is how this works. They go after the soft targets, right? They go after the what everyone would agree is a bad guy, okay? And they try to erode their rights, and they use that, and that's kind of like the thin end of the wedge that leads to the erosion of all of our rights. This is why I stood up and hammered home, even though Abrego Garcia could have been a terrible person and a criminal. What they did to him was still wrong, because it eroded his fundamental rights. They ignored his fundamental rights. And I don't care if he was guilty or innocent. The guilty deserve rights too. The rights are there to protect all of us, and we do that by, again, providing those rights, whether or not you are guilty or innocent. And that's my thoughts.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll let you guys talk about men. I just wanted to hop on and just this has been on my brain all day about this, because it's just like it's such an infuriating issue for me. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Always appreciate it.
I love you.
Men suck, especially soy pill. Okay, bye.
Hey,
Okay,
buddy.
soy
Hey,
pill.
look, I'm out of breath. I'm at the gym, so I can't talk long. But I was like, you know what? What if I tuned into my friend's Wix stream and see what's going on? And you're incel posting again, because let me get this straight. You're not an incel. I don't believe you are. In fact, I'm sure you have lots of sex. The problem is
love
not
women,
that.
yeah.
The problem, well, incels love women too, just not in the same way. But
Well, I think they're
sometimes
people.
well, incels. Okay, look, as someone who spent a lot of time in incel forums for fun, I'm pretty familiar with incel rhetoric. Specifically, like when you post like incel memes, like the one, it's Saint Black Ops 2, a famous incel, and it's like, oh, the just be nice meme. They complain that, hey, people tell me to be nice, but I look like Saint Black Ops 2. He's got a Black Ops shirt. He's a particularly not good-looking man. And it's like, oh, well, that's a lie, right? And the problem is not that I think you're an incel, but you are treading into incel rhetoric when you do stuff like that. The problem is not just be nice is not good enough advice. The problem is, yeah, there's a lot of like societal problems that men face. They're not necessarily taking as good care of themselves. Maybe they don't have as much self-esteem. And yeah, sometimes they're really fucking ugly. But just so you know, St. Black Ops 2 got a girlfriend.
What?
So it's not just that.
Yeah, but I'm curious.
But hold on. My issue is.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. But my issue is.
You're fine.
If you're telling people to go to Xerx's fucking audience as a healthy space for men, that man is all that guy does is complain about women online. And my fucking issue is not that you complain that men are mistreated, because they are. Men's problems are not taken seriously enough. And that is a real thing. And 80% of incel rhetoric starts off in truth. It's the last 20% that's bad. And the last 20% is there's nothing you can do about it, hence the term black. Instead of, okay, let's build spaces for men, which you said you're doing, which I really appreciate, where they can come and tell you their problems. And they can build up and be taken seriously and not get laughed out of the room. So I think that when you, based on my experience, complain about this much, much more than you're fostering a better environment, or, God forbid, sending your audience to a incel community, this is a bad move. And I think you should be lifting men's voices up, except for Xerxes.
So I brought up Xerxes in the context of Red Pill Spaces, and I stand by what I said. In the context of Red Pill Spaces, Xerxes is one of the more healthy ones to be in. If I had a son...
Okay, yes, but that's like a less lethal poison. Like his space is like incredibly, incredibly toxic in terms of identifying problems and solving them and getting men out of these unhealthy mindsets and into self-promotion. Like, that's not what he does, unfortunately. Now, he is way better than Andrew Tate, I'll give you that. But again, this is like a pick your poison sort of thing. It's not a place I would recommend people go for self-improvement and health.
I never recommended they go to him for self-improvement and health. I was, again, speaking of Red Pill Spaces and saying that they're not all terrible, that there are some better ones and there are some worse ones. And I think that Xerxes isn't a terrible space. I don't agree with Xerxes on a lot of things, but I wouldn't say that Xerxes is preying upon his audience in the same way I think that a lot of Red Pill is, and that's the context in which I said that. Second thing, before we go, right?
Wait, before we move on to the second thing, before we move on, first, let's stay on the first thing. Do you think that his space is healthy at all for men to be in terms of improving their mindset? Or do you think, like I do, that the way that he just complains about these, whatever podcast women who are just there to bait men like him into getting angry, just complain about the state of men but not actually like solve problems, is nonetheless, no matter what, because I don't think he's a bad person. In fact, I might even call him an acquaintance, if a friend, if we got closer. I think he just is an incredibly, incredibly toxic mindset that is hurting men. Not as bad as Andrew Tate, but is not a good place to go. Not even a little bit, just because it's better.
I think that he's black-pilled in a way that isn't healthy for him, right? And I do think that that comes out in his content. But to say that his content, look, maybe this is a hot take, but sometimes it's okay to go to a place just to bitch about women. That's okay. That's okay. And if I wanted to go to a space where I just wanted to talk shit a little bit and like complain, that's a place I think.
Okay, you're downplaying this a lot, and I could show you examples if I wasn't at the gym right now. So let's have a de-insulify Wick panel next week, because I need to show you just how wrong you are about this kind of rhetoric.
We
and how
do,
dangerous
but
it is.
let's be clear, because I do want to get to the second point, which is why I called you in here, right? Because you were saying that I was promoting incel rhetoric. Can you tell me the incel rhetoric that I was promoting?
Sure. So the incel rhetoric. First of all, for example, the image I brought up of just like they tell you that all you need to do is be nice. And it's like, unfortunately, the case is with a lot of these incels, especially having spent time in these forums, and you go in these threads and they'll post their faces. You can see exactly what they look like. And like the idea like, oh, they just tell me to be nice and shower, and that's all you need to do. And the truth is, it actually is what they need to do. They just need to be better people, because they don't look bad at all. They just need to have more confidence in their hobbies, like have some personal hygiene, and like just treat other people like they would treat, treat a woman like they would treat their friends, so they can like get to know them, and not like this like weird sexual conquest and like this toxic mindset where there's this trophy to be won. And I've seen you post stuff that is like adjacent to that. Not so far that I'd call you an incel, because you'd have to be like serious incel posting for that. But you tread into it a little lightly, and like the bitterness towards the way that men are treated, which is, don't get me wrong, a very valid reason to be bitter, is kind of treading into that incel territory where it's like, okay, it seems like you're just want to be mad and like crabs in a bucket more than you want to improve men out of this situation.
This is the problem, though, right? To point out something that you acknowledge is true, and then when you call that rhetoric incel adjacent, because I just said something that's just true, that's just correct, I think that this demeans and acts as a way to kind of get people to shut up about it. And I don't think you're doing it intentionally, right? I don't think most people are doing it intentionally, but it does happen, right? It does happen. They're like, well, even if you post something that's just completely correct, if you do it in
hold
a
on.
bitter
The thing
tone,
you posted wasn't right. The thing you posted wasn't correct. It was, hey, look at this ugly guy. He'll never be able to get a woman just by being nice, when in fact he did do that. So
you'll have to
this-
remind me what I posted. I don't remember posting this. I know you're at the gym
I'll
right
go-
now.
I'll
We'll do it on
define
the
it and send
incel
it to
pill.
you.
We'll do it on the Incelify soy pill, de-incelify.
Black pill, soy pill.
Black pill, soy pill. No, tell you what, if I wanted to black pill you, soy pill, I know someone to bring on that would, after the panel, you would be an incel.
Yeah, it turned me into one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that could happen. We'll do it next week. I'll DM you for a day and things, but thanks for calling in. I just...
Well, real quick,
okay,
before I go, just to be clear, I'm not saying you're like wrong about any of these men's issues. They're very, very true that men are not taken seriously. Men need to be listened to. And in fact, if you were complaining about this to me, I wouldn't be like, shut up, incel. I would hear you out and we could have a talk about like any and all problems that men have in this space. The problem is when people, as a totality, not in this individual, like, oh, this axiom is wrong, this fact about men is wrong. The problem is in the totality of what I see when you bring this up. It's never, hey, how do we get men out of these spaces? It's 90-80% complaining about it, which is what the incel community is, and a lot less about like, how do I actually fix it? Like if you had a bunch of panels about men's self-improvement, I think I would not have even mentioned that word, because I know that you're a person who does both.
The problem is every time I try to host a panel like that, we don't get past, is there actually a problem? And it becomes like half the panel is saying there's no actual problem here. And we can't get past go. We can't, like,
Okay, well, just don't let women on your panels anymore.
The first
that's
step,
my suggestion.
Yeah, but the
no
first,
more women.
Again, it's men doing this too. Okay.
Okay, no more men either.
The first step into solving a problem is to identifying the problem and looking at the scope of the problem. And then once we do that, once we have agreed that there is something to fix here, then we can talk about how do we fix this. The problem is, for me, is I don't actually know the answer to that last question. I'm being honest with you. How do we fix a whole societal problem where people just don't care about what happens to men? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can't, but people like you and I need to use our platforms to show that we do care about like men. That's the whole thing. Like, we need to normalize it. Obviously, you and I alone can't fix it, but like the more people that spend less time complaining and more time just saying like, hey, I'm not going to be complaining about this. I'm someone who takes men's problems
who
seriously.
could
Like,
solve this?
We need to be the pick-me.
You know who I think will solve the men's problem? Talibots. I think we just need to platform her more and get her on and hear what she has to say. More.
Unironically, as much as I have problems with Holly, I bet that she, as a lesbian, would probably have a lot of pretty good advice for men. So yeah. I wouldn't even disagree.
Okay,
but,
thanks for calling.
Tell you what, every time you complain about a man's problems, I want you to do one push-up for me. Can you do that?
I can do that. Okay, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Awesome. Have a good one, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't even. Okay. I know he had to go, and I know it was he was busy with the gym and stuff. But I'm still not precisely sure what I've said that he had an issue with. I think it was just the tone. Again, we'll have a panel next week about it. We'll call it the black pill, soy pill, or the de-incelify wick. Right? It should be fun. It will be good content. Nonetheless. But yeah, I do take a little issue with people saying that, you're incel adjacent when you talk about a real issue that men have. And I do think that there are real problems. And we do have to be able to talk about it. Okay. I do have time for only one more, unfortunately. Captain Perry Welk will get you on, and then we're gonna have to end it for the day. But let's see what they have to say. Hey, you're live. Oh, hold on. Before you go, I missed a super chat, but I do want to read it. $20 from Alexander Rin to say, even now, we mock people for living with their parents or tell them that they are throwing away their lives taking care of them. We see the elderly as people who couldn't die fast enough to give up their hoarded wealth. Alexander Rin, you are absolutely correct. That is one of the main issues I have with Western culture that I think is toxic and terrible. We have basically depersoned old people. We want them to just move and get out of the way. It's a real problem.
I'm not sure you, the liberal, would be okay with the solution for that, which is collectivist.
Collectivist, explain, elaborate.
More focus on the family, taking care of family members. I mean, that's what Daniel Hikichu talks about, if you've ever seen, like, some of his stuff. Is that a big problem with liberal individualism is that it dehumanizes the family and reduces it down to, well, basically nothing, and it makes people feel really alone. And this whole capitalist thing of constantly working, constantly producing means that old people are really just thrown under the bus.
So I won't disagree when you say that there are issues with people who are extreme individualists who devalue the family in the pursuit of money and power. I think that absolutely happens, but I don't think that that is a capitalist problem. I think that exists under societies that are not capitalist as well. Look at the USSR, for example. They did not value their elderly at all, right? They basically did not, like, if you weren't useful to society, if you weren't useful to the communal society, you were shunned and you were not taken care of. Now, this is, again, not an issue of capitalism, but an issue of people simply dehumanizing other people, which happens under all sorts of systems, liberal, anti-liberal, etc. I would argue to you that the liberal system is the main protector of the traditional family unit, because it allows people who do care about their families the freedom to make decisions that would advantage their families over others.
But it also gives them the freedom to completely abandon their parents.
That is the cost, and there are costs to these things. But I don't think a communal society would fix that in a real way.
I mean, that was just to respond to the guy's super chat. Make sure his $5 is worth.
Yeah, what did you? He $20.
Oh, with soy pill.
But yeah.
No. Oh, $20. I hope our talk about that was worth $20. But anyway, basically, when it comes to soy pill and the incels, it's like, okay, what if I'm feeling discouraged, not because I'm a man, and I think the world is out to get me because I'm a man, but because the world is capitalist, and I'm not rich. Like, capitalism is against me. Why should I do anything?
I think that, look, I don't think that you are looking at the world correctly if you think that your problems are because of capitalism.
Just like the patriarchy? Or whatever?
Yeah, I think that anyone who blames their problems on the patriarchy is probably wrong. Like, I think we've coddled women too much in that, and I think it's caused them problems. But I wouldn't want to do the same to men in that situation.
Yeah. Because soy pill was...
quick. The solution to men's issues isn't to tell them, well, the state will fix all your problems. There does need to be a level of personal accountability here. But the first step, and what the problem I see that is overarching is that society as a whole, and I'll repeat this, doesn't give a shit about you if you're a man. And we need to fix that.
Okay.
But go on with your what you call
it was about soy pill, where it's like, well, soy pill is saying, well, you can get a girlfriend if you like pull yourself up by the bootstraps, have a good personality, shower, bathe, hygiene. Like, you can be better. It's not all doom and gloom. But I wonder what he would say if it's like, well, what about like being very nihilistic because of living under capitalism? It was more so against Soypill than against you.
Well, you'll have to talk to Soypill. and
Yeah, I
find
will.
out,
I have to
you know.
talk.
You can call in. I'm sure he does shows and call-ins too. He's a nice
Mhm.
guy. I like Soypill. Like, we disagree sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
still fun.
Is he a socialist? I've not
I
checked him out that
don't
much.
think Soypill is a socialist. I think
Oh,
he's a
interesting.
liberal. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think he's socialist. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
I think he's progressive. Which is
Yeah. You want to talk about narrative control? Because that's the reason why I joined the stage.
it's your call, sir. What do you want to
Oh,
talk about?
sweet.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when it comes to narrative control, I think in a country like America, where you do have, like, in a capitalist country like America, the nice thing about capitalism is that you actually do have choice when it comes to, like, what media you want to consume. Like, it's not like we're living in, like, North Korea or, like, the USSR, where we have to only rely on state media. Like, we have our own stuff going.
Sure.
It's awesome.
Sure. When I was talking about narrative control, though, it was a nod to some of the drama going on that alleged that there were communities out there who are engaged in kind of trying to drive a narrative one way or the other regarding streamer stuff. And I do think that happens. I know that happens. I know that there are groups out there on all sides who will go in and try to drive a narrative about different streamers in order to paint them in a positive light or a negative light. And I guess the reason I brought it up in the title is because I thought it might be an interesting discussion to kind of unpack what's happening, why it's happening, what can be done, how do we notice when it's happening, and all these things. Now, again, if no one bit on that until you, but I do think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Topic.
I mean, I notice very similar things when it comes to media analysis. I mean, I don't really pay attention to streamer drama that much. It's honestly more brain rotting than Skibbity Toilet. But in terms of narrative control in that aspect, I genuinely think that people are much more forgiving of a piece of media, so like a story, for having problematic things in it if they like the person who made it, compared to if the person who made it is problematic. My example of this is like J.K. Rowling. Like, people used to love Harry Potter, but then when she like started saying like transphobic stuff and people started to not like her anymore, that's when people really started going after Harry Potter and saying it was like racist and stuff. And I think a similar thing will happen to a show like Hazbin Hotel, where it's like, if you look in Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, there's a lot of stuff that could be considered problematic, but no one really cares about it because the creator's not... I mean, the creator's controversial, but hasn't done anything explicitly bad that has been shown in the stream, like J.K. Rowling has.
Sure.
So I think until the creator like does something that people don't like, I think people are going to continue to enjoy Hell of a Boss, Hazbin Hotel.
People
but
will forgive
when that thing happens.
No, I agree with you. People will take their personal beef with the creator of a piece of art or media and bring it into the media itself and use it to critique the media itself, even though it may not be fair to the media itself. And they will forgive problems that media has if they like the creator. So no, that's just trivially true. I agree. Thank you for calling in, sir. We're gonna go
other
through
people
these
need to
quick.
come on?
Yeah, we gotta go through these quick. But thank you for the discussion, and we do these things every week. So call in again. Rabbit, what's up?
Hey, long time no speak.
I know it's we got a Eucharist appearance and we're getting a Rabbit appearance.
Yeah, I know that kind of. I almost wanted to try and get on with you, Chris. He's my man crush, other than
He's
you,
great.
of course.
He's great,
but-
yeah.
So now I'm torn because
just real quick, Soypill, if you're still listening, if you want an example of someone that people should be looking to for positive male role models, for someone who would be a help and would help young men, my example is Eucharist. Straight up.
100%.
Model Eucharist, okay? He's the guy that you should look to. Get advice.
Like when my kid goes to college, I hope he has a teacher like him because I need those intelligent, thoughtful, yet still moral and manly figures, in his life, other than me, of course. But
of course. Okay, what you calling in for?
Well, and that's kind of bridges into what I wanted to talk about, right? Because that whole thought of Tate versus Xerxes and stuff, I've heard Xerxes quite often on your channel. I haven't sought his own specific out, but I think I have the cut of his jib from how he speaks, and I can honestly say, not playing my misogynist character that I like to do in your chat, but I think of my son, and I have a son, this is skin in the game, literally. I would rather him listen to Xerxes and have to discuss with my son about, a man who's venting and getting it out and moving towards a problem than Tate, who just straight, is
What about
just
Xerxes or Soy Pill? If you had to pick, who's your son gonna listen to? Soy Pill or Xerxes? Who you picking?
Yeah, definitely not Soy Pill.
Damn.
And that's not a knock against him. I don't think he's necessarily a bad person. I think he conflates lifting weights with being manly, and I think there are a whole lot of other virtues that he might possess but doesn't espouse in his rhetoric that I would like to see my son have. And as angry as Xerxes is, I think that anger is rooted in some of those other virtues, some of those other classic, I'm Gen X, some of those classic Gen X views of manliness that I think we've stepped away from, that I am still 100% trying to imbue in my son.
I
And
want you on
my
the
Filipino
on the
wife is aligned with
Incelify
that.
Wick or de-Incelify Wick or the Incelify Soy Pill panel. I do. I want you on there.
I will, if I can make it, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we'll,
Because
I'll DM you possible times and stuff, and we'll figure it out because I want
manliness
that.
and what's happening to boys. Like I have issues with the education system in general and how people think that it's just a petri dish to try out whatever they want. And right now it seems to be to try and fix men. Right. And I don't like that because we're not broken. We're just different, as people like to say. Right. And we really need to find out not how to fix men, but to gear the education system so that boys who are turning into men will want to continue to participate and get the benefits of all that education and not be indoctrinated to think that they're broken from the earliest age. It's tragic. It's what we did to women, I think, for centuries. And we have, clearly come out saying that that was a wrong thing to do. And we can't fix that by doing it back to men going forward, right?
I don't disagree. Thank you for calling in, sir.
Have the courage to agree, Wick. Have the courage to agree.
Look, I've always appreciated your takes on mendom and things. I think we mostly agree.
I think so. We're almost of a similar generation, though, right? So
Yeah.
I think that might,
We have the
and plus the
same
military
raising.
background.
Yeah, we have
You
the
were in the
same,
military, and I grew up, on an Air Force base. So I think
which is the same apparently. But go on.
yeah, we were imbued with a lot of the same values, I think. So I've appreciated yours. I don't think you need to be de-incel, sir.
I don't think
you
so
should
either. I don't
hold
think
on
I'm
to
an
it.
incel at all. I don't know.
I think you're fine. I think you still believe that you can tell jokes about gender and sex and men and women. And I think that's what gets the soy people, wink, wink, point, point. Their frock all aflutter.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, brother, and
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
talk to you about possible times. Okay, I'll talk to you
Sounds
later.
good. Keep the faith.
Okay, what's up, KO Dave?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Speaking of the manliest man, okay, what's up, brother?
Definitely not me.
No, you're fine. You good?
All the toys behind me
Look,
suggest otherwise.
What you thought? What do we talk about here? There's nothing wrong with it, brother. Nothing wrong.
Yeah,
Don't let
well.
anyone tell you otherwise. Okay.
Oh, I mean, I won't.
Collecting.
I love Transformers. I am
Collectibles are
completely
very manly.
unapologetic about my collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Nor should you apologize for it.
Yeah. So, I originally I want to talk about just give you a real quick question about the AI girlfriend and boyfriend thing. But before I get there, there's something you said earlier, and it might have been a misspeak, but I kind of want to interrogate you about it for a second. You were talking about how not caring about the elderly was an issue in Western culture, right?
American culture specifically.
American culture specifically. Okay, because you did say Western culture at one point, and I kind of wanted to point out that that's not like a Western culture issue in general.
Oh, well, American
It's
culture.
very
I
much
corrected
an
myself.
American culture issue.
Yeah, American
Yeah.
culture.
Okay.
Cool.
Good, because that's not an issue here in Canada at the very least.
I
But-
do not know. I cannot confirm or deny that it's an issue in Canada because I'm not Canadian. So, fair enough.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Wick. If you or someone else are in like a committed relationship, right?
Okay.
And for whatever reason, this person in a committed relationship starts quote unquote dating an AI boyfriend or girlfriend, is that cheating?
Yes. If
You think so?
are monogamous, if the conditions of your relationship can include monogamy, and you are giving your affection to an AI boyfriend or an AI girlfriend, that is a form of cheating. Absolutely.
Interesting. So even though it's just a computer program that's not a real person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because a lot,
Interesting.
remember, a lot of these people choose the online girlfriend or the online boyfriend because it imitates, to at least what they feel is a successful degree, the girlfriend or boyfriend experience. So even though this program isn't a person, they are treating it as such, and they are giving it their time, attention, and affection. I would absolutely consider, if you are in a monogamous relationship with a real life person and you engage and start dating a AI, yeah, you're cheating. You are.
Okay. I don't think I would necessarily agree. I think that it would have to be at the very least indicative of some sort of dysfunction in your relationship. Something's gone wrong that should be addressed. But I don't think I would call it cheating.
That you could say that cheating with a real life person is indicative that something has gone wrong with your relationship. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and there's lots of things that aren't cheating that are indicative of something going wrong with your relationship, and I would consider dating
Yes, I understand.
AIs to be
But
one of them.
Again, if you're dating an AI and you have a relationship, you are cheating on the person that you were with. It may not be as bad as cheating with a real life person. I think we can segregate that or stratify that and put it on a spectrum of good and bad, right? And I would agree with you that cheating with an AI is less bad than cheating with a person, but I still would consider them both to be cheating.
I would want to keep the word cheating to like real people. That's what I would want.
I think it just matters of where your affection is going, right? Where you are spending your affection. And if you're, again, engaging with an LLM that imitates, and many people right now cannot functionally tell the difference, or at least not in a real way, right? They treat these LLMs as people, which is a mistake, but they are doing it, and you are doing that, and you are dating someone else. Yeah, I think that is cheating.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't know.
I
mean, like,
was interested.
if look, as in anything else, if your partner's okay with it, like if you talk to your partner beforehand, is like, hey, yo, I want to try the Grok AI girlfriend experience, and she's like, go for it. Then have at it, buddy. Right? You're not cheating. Then you've carved out the rules of your relationship as such that that's okay. But if you're doing it, especially without telling your partner, it's absolutely cheating.
Right.
Okay.
I was just interested in but yeah, thanks for talking.
Of course. I'll see you later, KO Dave.
Bye.
Yeah, does anyone disagree with me on this? Who disagrees? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, if I was dating someone, okay, and I found out that they were spending time and giving affection and having playful little phone calls and conversations with an AI and dating them and going so far as to actually date them, yeah, I have a real issue with that. Like, what are you doing? What's Chad Vincent says? Don't you think AI partners could give men better self-esteem and thus could become confident enough to ask a girl out? Could it help women's anxiety to be willing to date? It could, Chad Vincent. That is possible. I just don't think it's likely. What I see happening with AI partners is that, and again, we can see this is how it's worked so far, right? This is how LLMs have worked so far, is that it basically gives you something where you don't have to learn how, like, basic human interaction tools, and you don't have to learn give and take. If you don't like what your AI girlfriend is saying to you, you don't have to hash it out. You don't have to come to an understanding. You don't have to compromise. You could just reboot her, or you can command her or override her, right? She is under your control, or it is under your control in a way that a woman is not or should not be, right? So I don't think that these would teach, I don't think these tools would teach men or women healthy relationship habits. In fact, it would do the opposite. It would teach them that they can just be as crude or crass or terrible as they want, and their partner won't leave and will gas them up for it. Okay. With that said, it is 8:45 and I am hungry and I have to go. So I'm going to go. Tomorrow there won't be a stream probably, but Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about the Alaskan summit between Trump and Putin. We're going to have Lonerbox will be joining us. Dylan Burns will be joining us. Blacktoid will be joining us. And I do need one more pro-Trump MAGA guy to join us who thinks that MAGA or that Trump is going to do a good job, right? So if that's you, DM me or contact me and we'll get you on the Thursday show. Sound good? Cool. Great. I'll see you guys later. Thursday. Bye.